Well, Pong, I guess we're live.
That's right. Welcome, one and all, another week. And guess what that means? Another PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM is back once more. And let me tell you, it is September the 1st. This is crazy. It was starting out like a slow week. Mav and I wasn't sure what we were going to have to talk about. We were going to have to make up some stuff to get a 2 hour show. And then, of course, Thursday happens, today happens, and all hell breaks loose. And guess what? We got a big show. We got a lot to get into. It's not all going to be good, happy, sunshiny rainbows. But before we do that, first of all, thank you all for joining us. Whether you're here live for the start of the show, whether you're going to jump in a little bit, whether you're going to listen to us a day or two from now while you are on your weekend, we don't care. We love you all and we respect you. And thank you, thank you, thank you. But got to get to my co-host, the one, the only. There is no mistaking this man ever, especially when he got animal crackers in his hands. This is Mav, aka Fun Speculation. What is going on, brother? How has your week been?
Been good, dude. Been a busy week, but also a lot of news this week. So just kind of sprang out of nowhere, starting yesterday. Really, I mean, really, kind of all week actually has been one thing or another after Monday. Monday was a little light, and then the last couple days. Yesterday started it off, I think. With we got Deathloop going to PS Plus extra, and I was like, "Whoa, that's interesting."
I didn't consider that a big deal, but okay, yes, we'll get into that.
It set off some things out there in the community that had me very fired up for a little while. But other than that, today, was some bigger news, and there was a lot of people anticipating some news today regarding this, and the information we got was it wasn't surprising in one instance, but it was very surprising in another, and we'll get into that later. But dude, besides that, man, just been enjoying playing games, been enjoying like that season 2 of Battlefield 2042. Been just diving into this and that. Been playing some more Madden. 2 EA games at the same time. It's crazy. And now Grid Legends is hitting Game Pass, so I'm gonna install that, which I already played the trial. It's pretty solid, but now it's in Game Pass. We'll be able to get some multiplayer racing going with some people in the community as well, right? And well, there've also been Soul Hackers 2 and just random stuff, man. Been having fun. What about you, Pong? What have you been up to?
No, that's what you're supposed to do. So I'm glad you're having fun. And for anybody who doesn't realize that Grid Legends is not just for Game Pass Ultimate. The Game Pass, the regular Xbox Game Pass account, tossed it out today. It is available for everybody who has just Game Pass. So you do not need EA Play to get Grid Legends today. So please go check that out because it is available. Listen, for me, it's been Soul Hackers 2 and it's been Battlefield. Didn't play anything last night, but of course, the first night of season 2, I jumped in with you. We did some streaming after I got off of RDX. Hey, man, that new map is pretty stellar. It's hectic to say the
Very
least.
hectic.
Like, wow. But that's the fun of Battlefield. Like, it felt really good. Did not try to get the new operator yet. You were playing around with the new operator, so you were using that Gatling gun setup that he's got. We were having a great time. It's still playing extremely well, still loving it, and I can't wait to get down and play some more. But Soul Hackers 2, man, I can't praise it enough. This is a classic Atlas game. I don't know, now that I look back on it after reading the initial reviews, why this is under an 80. It should not be. This is a very, very solid entry into Atlas as far as one of their spin-off games go. This is not mainline Persona. This is a spin-off of a spin-off, basically, at this point. And for them, again, the quality is there. It's a shorter title. It's not one of those hundreds of hours like Persona is. This is going to be a 40, 50 hour type title. But everything I'm seeing so far, everything that I've experienced so far is just fantastic. I've got about 7 hours in now, I think somewhere in that neighborhood, 6 hours, whatever it is, and just loving every minute of it. So happy to have Atlas on my Xbox. Outside of that, I downloaded Immortality, but I have not popped it on yet. I can't wait to jump into that. That's been the big surprise of this week, jumping into Game Pass. For anybody who doesn't know, that's from the developer Sam Barlow. who actually did. Shout out to brother from another 3-bit, his favorite game, Her Story. This is a follow up, and the scores are off the charts. I think it's right around a 92 right now.
Yeah.
I think I want to say last time I checked.
It's going to win some awards, probably.
It's going to probably win this. And as Dust Falls, two heavy narrative driven games in the same year that both are jumping into Game Pass, allowing more people to experience them and find out that they like narrative driven games. Again, narrative driven games for me are hit or miss. I've been on Immortality since we first saw it at what show? It was one of the indie shows during E3 week. I can't remember which one it was. I was on with Indie Gamer, and when that game popped up, I'm like, no, that looks great. I can't wait to try that out, some of the mechanics in it. But yeah, dropping into Game Pass. So go check that out and see if you like narrative driven games. But that was pretty exciting to see this week as well. Other than that, man, it's just been busy, man. End of the month is always extra busy on top of my normal busy. So this week has been hellish, but I'm here. It's Thursday night. It's PM in the PM, and we're going to have a good time because we do have a ton to talk about, man. Now we do. First of all, let's shout out some people in the chat. And I know we got a member chat from Chaos Theory, member for 15 months. Thank you so much, sir, for being part of the speculators. Sup, guys? Is the deal going through or not? Hey, Chaos, we are going to talk about that. You are going to get Mav and I's opinions and in depth about what's going on here. So appreciate that for sure. Depka, great to see you. Toto, dope to see you, man. RSJ fan, always good to see you. Calorie in here as well. Talos Ray, Polly Baba, awesome to see you. Says, what up, Pong and Mav? Gaming Twitter is crazy between the ABK deal and the Halo stuff right now. Yes, sir. Our first two topics of this evening, it has been wow on Twitter. Opinions and personal stuff flying everywhere, of course. The clown shows are out on both sides on top of just us normal gamers trying to make sense of all of it. So we are going to talk a lot about both of those topics. Who else is in here? It's Timmy. Great to see you, sir. Siki, always great to see you. Vic the Click, brother, you know what it is. Awesome to have you in here. Alvin, always dropping on in. General Spartan 27. Shizno Elite, great to see you, my friend. Mitchie dies a lot. Wouldn't be a chat without you, Mitchie. Thank you for being here. UK Lad, that's right. PM in the PM with fire emojis. Thanks, UK Lad, brother. Appreciate you. Who else we got in here tonight? Andrew Cullinane, of course, dropping on in here. Joe Bailey, great to see you. Yo to you, sir. Who else we got? Ray Oid, hit that like button. That's right, everybody. The business side of things. If you could hit that like button, if you have an extra second, and if you got an extra 3 seconds, if you could share this out real quick, both Mav and I appreciate you a lot. It does help the show get around those logarithms. So, who else? Wilfrey Rosario, great to see you. Yo, Sony out here snitching, blocking the deal. Yeah, they're doing their best. They're doing their best, Wilfrey. They're doing their best, which is expected out of, a $1 billion company fighting against a $1 trillion company. It's going to happen. There's no rules when it comes to love and war, and that includes business. So, Psycho Knots, brother, great to see you. Always up in our DMs all day long, spitting out the news for us. Lore Master Jasper, actually, guy is here. Lore, what's going on, man? Mr. Sweaty himself in Battlefield takes us to the first place every time. Luke Steele, great to see you, sir. This man right here comes with some very knowledgeable information because he actually has to deal with the CMA over there in the UK. So I saw him on Boxer Burgers. I could not listen to the whole show because I was at work. I was in and out, but Luke was dropping some knowledge over there as well. Great to see you in here, sir. Beer Baron 00. Awesome to see you. Says there was another game similar to Immortality earlier on Game Pass where you piece together actual video footage. Yes, that's Sam Barlow's other game. What is it? Lies. What's the full title? I forget, Mav. Tell Me Lies? Is that what it is?
Tell me
Can't
lies, tell me sweet little lies. I don't remember.
I don't remember, but it's something with lies. But yes, that is Sam Barlow's other game on top of her story. Jason Hackett, always great to see you in here. Artie M, you know, brother, great to have you join us this evening. Go Poe. Again, would not be a chat without you. Ghost Fixter showing on up, always ready for this show. Well, thank you, sir. We are ready to get down to business. Mav and I love Thursday nights. And of course, the one, the only, the beautiful Miss Caitlin has joined the chat. Happy Thursday to you, my dear. And thank you again for the wonderful thumbnail and all the work you do. We appreciate you.
Another toxic thumbnail for her, though. What's going on with those toxic thumbnails?
Yeah, she's coming up with this all on her own, isn't she, Mav?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, I Steal Rain showing up. Brother,
what
the guy who refused to download Battlefield until season 3, but guess what? Peer pressure got the best of him. He downloaded it. He was rocking out with us the other night, having a good time. That's right, the sweaty one himself, who I just play the games, man. I just play the games. That's what he always says. He's dropping in here saying, why are you so naughty? Sir, why are you so serious? That's right. What's going on? Jay Rembert, great to see you. Steel saying my volume's cutting in and out. Are we having issues? Chat, let me know if my volume's
sound
cutting
okay
in and
to
out.
me. You sound okay to me.
Okay. Let me know if that is in fact happening. So I can try to do something on my side. This has been going on multiple times lately, but I just want to make sure. But otherwise, Jay Rembert, who else we got in here? Davino, great to see you as well. Razor NZ joining us from New Zealand. Awesome to see you as well. So, Mav, let's see. Let's start.
Let's see.
You know how we do this, chat. I hate ending the show on negative news, negative talk. So we're going to start out with the bad first. So we are going to jump into the CMA stuff. Let's do this, Mav, and then we'll get to the Halo stuff, and then we'll move on and have some more fun things to end the show on, because we do have a couple of good news topics for the gaming industry as a whole as well. So let's see, how are we going to start this? Let's do this. So for anybody who doesn't know, the CMA is the Competition and Markets Authority, which is the UK's version of the FTC. Okay, so they're the ones that have been reviewing this deal. Now, I had assumed incorrectly that both the UK and EU had moved on to the second stage, much like the FTC already did a couple months ago. So I had been predicting that I thought this deal was going to go through by November, December. We found out today because the CMA made their stuff public. Again, we saw what happened with Brazil, right? We didn't think anybody else or any other big markets would make this acquisition review public, but CMA obviously decided to, and they did it on Twitter. So they came out this morning with a bunch of tweets, and I'm going to read those tweets, and I won't get into all the full lengthy pages that they put out along with this as well, the official documents. You can go watch Hogue Law after the show. Hogue did a freaking amazing job, as he always does. Shout out to Hogue. Such an asset to this community to have somebody who does mergers and acquisitions. Now, granted, he doesn't do UK stuff, so he doesn't know all that. Like I said, Luke Steele, who's in chat, he's dealt with these guys a little bit too. But Hogue did his best today and broke down all the legalities of this stuff and kind of read through the entire documents, also included the Microsoft response as well, and did a great job. So go check that out after the show if you want to find out some more in-depth stuff from an actual attorney. Fantastic stuff over there at Hogue Law. So the first tweet came out, said, we've been investigating. Again, this is from the CMA. This is from their official Twitter account, blue check marked.
I saw their official tweets, man. I got to say, those are
with
interesting.
The emojis,
the emojis, especially in the comments section, the one where they put the block emoji.
You mean the stop or the
no smoking?
No smoking. Yeah,
whatever you want to call it. Yeah. That emoji was
great.
Like what? Like okay, all right. Go ahead and read their official tweets.
We can assume that a Zoomer is running their socials. Okay, so
absolutely, I would assume that like King Thrash or something was running their running their social. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. As a joke.
Shots
I'm
fired.
sorry.
Okay, all right.
My bad.
All right, listen. But yes, I use emojis a lot, but if I was part of a government official site, I would not use emojis. But anyways, it's neither here nor there. Here we go. So first tweet was, we've been investigating Microsoft's anticipated $69 billion purchase of Activision Blizzard and have discovered that I love how they word all this stuff. This is crazy. And have discovered that the deal could substantially lessen competition in, and then they go on to list gaming consoles with a cute little controller emoji that we are all aware of, multi-game subscription services with an emoji that I don't even know what that is. But anyways.
Yeah, it's a button, I think.
I think it's a button too. Multi-game subscription services and cloud gaming services. And they have a cute little cloud emoji. And then they go on to continue on. Microsoft is one of the biggest players in the gaming industry. Yeah, not the biggest, but they're one of the biggest, sure. Together with Sony and Nintendo, they've led the games consoles market for the past 20 years with limited competition from new rivals. Activision Blizzard develops and publishes some of the world's best-selling and most recognizable gaming franchises, including Call of Duty and World of Warcraft. And they used a nice little wizard for World of Warcraft. That's so cute. And then we got the red circle with the slash, whatever you want to call it, emoji. We're concerned that if the deal goes ahead, it could harm rivals, including recent and future entrants into the gaming industry, by refusing or hindering access to Activision Blizzard games. Microsoft and Activision Blizzard now have 5 days to make proposals to address our concerns. If any proposals made are not sufficient, we'll explore this deal in more depth to reach a decision that works for the UK gamers and businesses. And then they've got a link for the entire process. Jez is one of the top comments on there. He has ratioed the entire government, which I thought was funny. But Jez said, LOL, did you guys actually do any research? And then Mav jumped below him and says, their use of emojis is annoying. LOL.
It was very annoying. I don't know why I got so annoyed by that. It's like weird, like this official response, like, hi everybody, we're delivering some news to you. I hope you enjoy this. This is direct from the UK government, the CMA. Like that energy. It's like, okay. Right.
It's Zoomer energy, right? It's like, who's writing this stuff? And this is supposed to be like, this is a big deal. This is professional. Yeah. Not like this. Phil Spencer immediately jumped onto Twitter as well this morning and said, in response, we are on a journey to put the fantastic creations of developers into the hands of players around the world, no matter where they play. And then he attached a link to the official blog response. I'm going to read this. It's kind of lengthy, but it's important because obviously it's Xbox's response. So, and there's, as Hogue pointed out, if you don't read corporate speak a lot, you'll miss some of the shade that was thrown in here. Yeah. But this was a very aggressive blog post when it comes to, they could have gone further, but just from Microsoft's standpoint, what we usually get out of them, this was pretty aggressive on their side. So I'll try to point out some of the points as I go through.
Hogues broke this down great on his stream earlier. Anybody after this show, I highly recommend checking that out because it was absolutely fantastic. And I agree 100% with his complete take on the situation also. So
exactly. So the blog post says, game developers around the world are creating innovative and groundbreaking games. We think that we can do more to bring those experiences to the billions of players everywhere. Our announcement in January that we intend to acquire Activision Blizzard was an important milestone in our journey to do so. Since then, regulators, game developers, and players have been asking what the acquisition means for the industry and, most importantly, for the players. Again, you'll notice throughout this blog, the FTC, now the CMA, are trying to change the rules of what they normally consider. Now, the CMA is a little different. They've got different regulations that they look at. It's different from the FTC, obviously. It's a different country. So they have different things they look at. But for the most part, when these acquisitions are looked at, it's supposed to be based upon what's best for the consumer, us, the gamers. They are twisting it to talk about the competition and all this kind of stuff, which isn't necessarily a part of what they're supposed to look at in this case. That's why they, again, in this blog post, most importantly, for players, they're bringing it back, and you'll notice that throughout this topics here. While we love consoles, we recognize that they are not the only way that people play games. Today, the largest and fastest growing segment of gaming is mobile platforms. To reach billions of players where they are, and no matter what device they play on, we need to embrace choice. Giving players choice in how they play their games makes gaming more accessible and leads to larger, more vibrant communities of players. Choice is equally important for developers. Developers benefit from having a diversity of distribution and business models for their games. Choice unlocks opportunities for innovation and enables the industry to grow. We are expanding choice in two ways: through the creation of Game Pass, which gives players a subscription option, and by bringing more games to mobile platforms, including through our cloud gaming streaming technology. Subscription services like Game Pass make gaming more affordable and help players from all over the world find their next favorite game. Game Pass empowers developers to bring more games to more players, not fewer. We intend to make Activision Blizzard's much loved library of games, including Overwatch, Diablo, and Call of Duty, available in Game Pass to grow those gaming communities. By delivering even more value to players, we hope to continue to grow in Game Pass, extending its appeal to mobile phones and any connected device. See what they're doing here. They're fighting back against everything that was being talked about by the CMA, the same kind of way they did with the FTC.
Yeah.
Again, we're not closing things down. We're opening things up. It's the other people that want to close things down. Again, Microsoft and Xbox positioning themselves as the good guys in this changing industry. Again, this is a changing industry, and actually in the official documents from the CMA admits that right now the industry is changing, that it is going through a new kind of look. They talked about that in there, which Hogue pointed out in his video as well. Bringing more games to mobile platforms, however, requires new capabilities. The expertise that the teams at Activision Blizzard bring in developing games for mobile platforms will help us understand how to create games that engage players around the world. That's why we need King so bad, right? That's what they're saying. That's why we need King. We don't have expertise in the mobile market. We're trying to reach 2 billion, 3 billion people. That's what this whole deal is about. It's about King. We need them to help us, right? In addition, we hope that players will be eager to play traditional console games from Activision Blizzard on other platforms via our cloud streaming technology. This promises to open up mobile gaming, creating new distribution opportunities for game developers outside the mobile app stores while delivering compelling and immersive experiences for players by using the power of the cloud. Let me read that part again. Talk about shade, okay? This promises to open up mobile gaming, creating new distribution opportunities for game developers outside of mobile app stores while delivering compelling and immersive experiences for players by using the power of the cloud. What have you heard Mav and I talk about, and so many others on podcasts talk about? They are trying to crack open all of these closed systems, and they are pointing out to the CMA and to everybody else who's listening. Once again, you know the really bad guys? You know Apple? You know Google? You know that iOS and Android that you guys hate right now because they lock everything down? Yeah. No, we're creating something to allow more players to play outside of that realm. Once again, we're the good guys here. We're not the bad guys. We want to open all this stuff up. Very, very interesting stuff. And we can extend the joy of playing to devices that people already own, including smart TVs and laptops. In doing so, we will pursue a principled path. Again, hilarious.
Principled path.
A principled
That's a tongue
path.
twister. Say that 5 times fast. Principled path.
You can't do it. It doesn't need anything, as Hogue pointed out, but it sounds really good. Again, we're the good guys here. It's awesome. We have heard that this deal might take franchises like Call of Duty away from the places where people currently play them. That's why, as we've said before, we are committed to making the same version of Call of Duty available on PlayStation on the same day the game launches elsewhere. We will continue to enable people to play with each other across platforms and across devices. We know players benefit from this approach because we've done it with Minecraft, which continues to be available on multiple platforms and has expanded to even more since Mojang joined Microsoft in 2014. As we extend our gaming storefront across new devices and platforms, we will make sure that we do so in a manner that protects the ability of developers to choose how to distribute their games. We'll continue to engage with regulators with a spirit of transparency and openness as they review this acquisition. We respect and welcome the hard questions that are being asked. The gaming industry today is robust and dynamic. Industry leaders, including Tencent and Sony, continue to expand their deep and extensive libraries of games, as well as other entertainment brands and franchises, which are enjoyed by players everywhere. More shade. Know who you guys got to be worried about? Tencent and Sony. Yeah. They're expanding. They're out here doing stuff. We believe that a thorough review will show the combination of Microsoft and Activision Blizzard will benefit the industry and players. For all the players and game developers out there, you remain at the center of everything we do, and we will continue to listen to your feedback and do everything we can to nurture this industry we all love. Bravo.
Yeah.
Well written PR.
That should be on a Hallmark card.
It should. That last paragraph should be on a Hallmark card. All right, Matt. We got the basics out the way here.
Yeah.
This came out of the blue. Again, I had assumed that we were already in the second stages everywhere. If the FTC was, I thought that probably the EU and the UK had followed suit. Obviously, that's not the case. They have just started their saber rattling, their posturing, obviously, and they did it in a big way today, coming out with this tweet and then releasing these documents with full statements that, again, we don't need to get into it. You can go watch Hogs. It's very deep, but there are entire paragraphs that they just took direct from the Brazil statements of Sony.
Which we say Brazil statements, but those also would have been the same answers they would have sent to all the regulators. So UK, and the CMA would have had those same answers for themselves. And it's not like they just, it's not just like they got the open information because of the Brazil stuff. It's that the CMA had those and they got the same answers, obviously, that Sony gave to everybody, right?
I was just pointing it out from the fact because everybody knows what the Brazil answers were. And we talked about this, Mav, right? We both agreed that, look, just because Brazil's the only one showing us what they're saying behind the scenes, Sony's been doing this all over the place, right? Again, they're trying to slow this deal down. If they can get it canceled, great. But at the end of the day, all they're trying to do is slow this deal down. I said that from the beginning, and I also said that EU and UK were where we needed to be worried because they do things different there. They look at things different. Again, I'm going to give it over to you here, Mav, and let you get some thoughts off about this and about kind of the generalities of what we're hearing here. And I know you got a lot of thoughts because of the fact that, as the title of the show says, CMA is parroting Sony's lines. Okay, they are basically a Sony parrot at this point for a lot of the. Again, you guys got to understand. I got to laugh a little bit because there's a whole group of people that are in this gaming community that are getting education on why big government is not good. Okay, this is why you don't want big government involved in everything, folks. This is what happens. You trust these people to help your lives, and they can't even figure out the gaming industry. Okay, they don't know anything. They know nothing. They're getting an education as we speak on this stuff. Half of what they wrote today, I put it in Hoag's check, sounded like they looked it up on Wikipedia. Okay, they don't know anything. And here they are trying to make big decisions about a $70 billion deal that's going to affect a whole lot of people in different ways. So I just thought it was funny that this is coming out this way, and people are like, oh my God, what are they doing? What are they saying? And of course, Sony being the market leader over there, they are going to have their lobby groups or whatever they have over there that's equivalent in the UK. I'm not quite sure what that is. But they're going to have their people in positions of power. Jim's obviously going to have friends in high places because he was the head of PlayStation over there. So he's going to know people. So they're going to pull strings. Now, Microsoft, being the corporation that they are worldwide, has more of those types of people than 99% of the companies out there. So they're using their people to tug the other side. Same thing that goes along with the FTC. Wherever there's money involved, people, there's politics involved. Okay. That's how the world works now. It's terrible, but that's what it is. So we know all this is going on. But from your side of things, Matt, when you hear some of the stuff that's been put out there by the CMA today, on top of what we learned from the Brazilian government, where do you think this deal is going? Do you think this is a big stumbling block, or do you think this, like me, that this is a whole lot of posturing going on, much like we heard from the FTC right away when it was dealt, and we had senators and whoever else out here talking? Where's your take on this right now, hearing all this today, and where do we go from here, Matt?
Actually, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm actually even more confident after this that the deal's gonna get through. And I've seen a lot of takes like, oh, like no, and here's the reason. Let me explain why. Because I was wondering when they did come out with some kind of a challenge or anything like that, if it was going to be actually worthy, right? And actually hold good merit to it and be informative and like, oh, okay. But in this case, we all assumed that UK was going to go into phase 2. In fact, actually last night before all this came out, Tom Warren had actually written on it about Twitter about how, phase 2 is probably going to start tomorrow, blah, 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 blah. The surprising thing was the actual response in the letter that they'd put out there with the reasoning why. And that's why I actually believe this is going to go through like without any issues, because it seems like their voice is just Sony. 100%. Like everybody else was okay with this, and we all knew that they're going to go to phase 2 because that's just what they were going to do. This is a $70 billion deal, right? They are going to go the full length on this as much as they can and try and make a case against it if they can possibly do so. That's just what their goal is from the outset with this. Whenever they're going and looking at this, they're looking, okay, what can we find on here that's going to be able to shut this big deal down against this tech giant? And it seems like that's the posturing that's taking place with a lot of the regulators, because guess what? That's what their job is. That's why they exist. They got to prove their self-worth there and the reason for existence to be able to shut down these big deals if they feel like there's any justification. Now, the issue here is there is actually no justification, and they're reaching for straws. They don't know anything about the industry, number one. And the fact that they couldn't come up with anything better than just Sony and Sony's actual responses and answers to the regulators is just almost word for word the answers that, you're right, were leaked from Brazil. And the fact that that's all they could come up with, that's all they really had was that. And even with their other instances talking about the cloud, they still relegated it to primarily affecting Sony. It is not the regulators' jobs to protect an industry leader. Therefore, they hold no case.
Right.
They hold no case whatsoever. Absolutely none. This is actually the weakest argument I could possibly have come up with if I was a regulator. And honestly, they should be ashamed of themselves because they just look like idiots right now, in my opinion, to the mass market who actually understands this industry. And they came up with no response, just looking at like, well, this is why we did the parroting thing. And at first I was going to say CMA back Sony, and then you came up with the parroting joke, and I was like, let's just run with that. Because it literally is Sony's words coming out of the official statements from the CMA. And because of the open letter from Brazil, thankful for that, because without that, or without the open information released there, then we wouldn't know this, right? But now because we have that comparison, we know what Sony's saying to try and argue against this, that's what the CMA is actually running with here. And the fact that they actually just took Sony's word for it and they're just going with their lines, they're like, okay, well, this is what we're going to use to be able to to challenge this and try and get some concessions, so that way they're going to be able to get their concessions, raise a big hullabaloo, and be able to get some concessions out of this or whatever. And then guess what? They've acknowledged themselves that they're worthy of existing. right? That they've done their job, that they've saved the people from the lack of Call of Duty not being multi-platform or whatever. Like it's like the funniest thing is like the like ridiculousness of this whole thing also, right? Like obviously it's a big deal. It affects a lot of employees and a lot of things like this, but this deal comes down to the regulators because of Call of Duty. One video game franchise Sony's entire existence, according to the CMA, rests on Call of Duty marketing rights. Everybody. And without Call of Duty marketing rights, according to the CMA, Sony's future is majorly in danger. How weak of a company must you be if one gaming franchise's marketing rights puts you in danger of actually being unimportant and irrelevant in a few years time? That is the weakest thing I've ever seen, and they have absolutely no way that they would potentially win this in court. In my opinion, now the issue is that Microsoft doesn't want it to get that far, right? The fact that they're using this and posturing means that they're asking for these concessions, which they've said they've giving Microsoft 5 days to do. Brad Smith already came out and said, yeah, we're willing to do that, like we've already said, so let's just get that done. The questions are like, are they going to just accept it there, or are they going to try and push for more and more and more? And we'll see where that fine line stops. And as many have pointed out for a long time, that this looks like it was probably going to be early 2023 at the earliest. Because of things like this, nothing has really changed. The only thing that has changed is the actual ridiculousness of the response from the CMA, and that we can actually look at and laugh at hysterically. Because it is the most uninformed opinion about the gaming industry from a regulation committee where its job is to protect the consumers and competition in the industry. And by doing so, what you're doing is protecting the industry leader who has a major advantage over Microsoft in this industry from losing on sales, and the third place company potentially getting more, which increases competition. That is the antithesis of what you're all about in the first place. This is actually just going against a tech giant because it's Microsoft, and then trying to use that to propel yourselves into making sure that you've done your due diligence and that you made a name for the CMA because you are worthy of challenging this, right? And it's posturing. It's just so weak, though, man. Like, to actually not be able to get anything beyond Sony's actual answers and come up with other things. To come up with other things is the most hilarious thing. It's like they just got the letters from Sony and then typed this up. Oh, okay, we got something here. Let's run with this one, guys. If Sony doesn't like it, you know, they're in the industry. They don't like it. We're gonna it's anti-competitive because Sony thinks it's gonna cost them some market share, right? Sony, even this generation, is way on top of them. And the other thing is they're going and looking at this and predicting the future, right? Which is their job, right? Their job is to look at these things and try and predict how is it going to affect all these different companies and try and predict the future. But they're like looking way so far ahead on this thing that there's like so many different variables. There's going to be gaming companies that exist by the time that will exist that don't exist now by the time that any of this has any relevance, right? There's going to be new gaming companies that are big, like Embracer Group that came up out of nowhere. By that time, Embracer Group could lead the industry. Who knows, right? Nobody knows. Amazon could decide to go full bore into this and just buy out gaming companies and do all these different things. Google could get back in the race. Who knows exactly what's going to happen? Apple could decide to, hey, you know what? We're really big with the mobile gaming market. Let's try and make some more hardcore experiences and start putting those streaming apps on all the TVs and everything for games, just like Microsoft is, because guess what? We already got a huge ecosystem. There's no telling exactly what the gaming industry is going to look like in 5-10 years from now, because every 5 years there's massive change. And the fact that you're saying this is anti-competitive because it potentially hurts the sales of one company who happens to be in the lead in the market is absolutely the weakest thing I've seen from a regulation committee regarding one of these deals, and especially this new territory now where we're having this consolidation of gaming and stuff, and it just comes across that they just went with the easy pickings, the easy thing to point out at, and for those reasons, I feel like it's just going to be a concession letter of certain things. And they're going to move on and get this thing done. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly when. I don't know how long it's going to take to close and all that kind of stuff. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. They could decide, you know what? We're going to really go after this and really like not allow anything, even with the concessions and those kind of things. But it seems like the challenges that they presented have, for the most part, already been answered publicly. But we got to see what they're actually going to try and get them to sign. And that's what it's going to come down to, in my opinion. Like, what does the actual concession letters look like? What is the language on those things? What is the time, the terms on those? You know, like how long are they for? Like all these different scenarios. We don't know. Like, are they going to not try and allow Call of Duty to be in Game Pass? Right? Those kind of situations. If they were to tell Xbox like you can't put Call of Duty in Game Pass, or you can't do this with their cloud gaming service, or they can't put any of those franchises in Game Pass, whatever, that would be a huge sticking point, and that would not go with their vision, right? So they don't mind selling Call of Duty on PlayStation consoles at all, right?
Put them on the Switch. They already talked about it.
Yeah,
put it on the Switch.
I mean, that's like I've even seen people like, but what if they don't? You know, they do good. But this is like such a non-important thing for them in the grand scheme of what they're trying to accomplish here with the PC side, with the mobile side, with getting their ecosystem all these different places. Call of Duty existing on PlayStation is like the least of their worries, right? And it's just ridiculous that that's what the focus is on the challenge from this deal, and it's just hilarious, dude. That's just my take. It just seems like weak sauce from the CMA, and like I was actually thinking, okay, well, if that's all they could come up with, that's like the most ludicrous thing I could have imagined them saying. It's just parroting Sony, and now I think I have complete confidence this deal is going to go through.
Well, you know what? Let me get this stuff. Luke Steele again. He's somebody who deals with the CMA. He's from the UK.
Yeah.
And so he put some comments in the chat. So let me read through his comments to give some perspective on what we're talking about here, because he knows what it's about. So thank you, Luke, for providing us some perspective. Again, appreciate you. This is what's great about this community. We have people all over. And if you don't have, we're just on the outside looking in on all this stuff. But normally in this community, you find somebody who has some kind of knowledge. So Luke says, in fairness, CMA are very different to the FTC. FTC is heavily politicized. CMA is an independent regulatory body which isn't populated by party individuals. Luke, when I say politicized, I mean playing the games. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. That type of game, there's always politics involved in big, giant business deals. And correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. But I did look up the board members, and all those board members have heavy connections in some way, shape, or form, and have worked or are currently working in different divisions and departments that would be linked to some type of government. So that's what I saw when I did a quick look at the board members, because I want to see who they are, and they have to disclose where they work and where they've worked in the past. So if there is any type of, conflict with a decision they're making, that's known. So let me know if I'm wrong there, Luke Steele. But I wasn't saying they're like politicized the way that the US is. Yeah, we know those two things are kind of different. He also went on to say, wasn't Sony's Brazilian responses, but the COD, he said it wasn't the Sony's Brazilian responses, but the Call of Duty element was similar rationale. CMA aren't experts in any industry, but do large research, but most intense research comes in phase 2. He says, just to clarify, when the CMA analyze impact on consumer, they often refer to a theory of harm, which is often looked at through the lens of the impact of a merger on a supplier rivalry, Microsoft versus Sony. So while it definitely looks odd when they refer to the impact on Sony, that's the reason why. And he said, should also say that phase one analysis has a really low threshold. It puts in quotes, is there a realistic possibility of a substantial lessening of competition? Phase two is much higher. Is an SLC likely? If they do a phase two investigation, it takes usually at a minimum of around 24 weeks. 24 weeks.
I was about to say you're going to say months.
No.
like damn. Okay.
No,
yeah, weeks.
No, and for everybody who's on board with, hey, let's just go to court. Let's do this. I've been saying that from the beginning. Let's go. Hogue pointed out that if it goes to court, at least in the U.S., years. He said that it'll be wrapped up for years. He said that would be the worst case scenario. He said they will drag their feet years. He said plural. So,
well, I wonder would they still drag it out in court, but still operate as an entity at that point, or is it not? They wouldn't until the court battle is over.
I don't know. And Luke says it doesn't even go to court in the UK. Okay. So Luke, let us know. Is there any way to fight it in UK if they deny it?
I don't think you can challenge the CMA or other like regulator committees in different countries, but I think you can like still just let the sue somebody. I don't know. Maybe they can just operate
Luke,
and then
Luke,
maybe
let
they
us know
can
how that works.
They can get sued potentially and try and challenge that, or maybe I'm thinking. I don't know for sure.
Okay, so there's a tribunal. There's a whole different department that does that. If CMA declines in phase two, you can take it to CAT, which is an appeals tribunal. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so
I can imagine what that looks like. Yeah, like this room full of hooded robes, you know.
Let us God, it's old. It's like the old.
Let us see your case. Welcome to the Templar and assassins.
You do some chanting.
Yeah, we have yum. Plead us your case. Microsoft. Sony.
Just glad we haven't got the UK accent out of you tonight. Listen, I think all of this is expected. Like I said, I don't think that like I said, I was into the assumption. I know Tom Warren had come out and said what he had said. I didn't really catch that last night. I was still under the assumption that we're already in phase two, but obviously not. But I think that all of this was expected. With a $70 billion deal, they're going to take a look at this. And what the UK is really doing here, they're posturing, the CMA is posturing, I should say, the CMA, because they're not government, officially government. They're posturing to get those concessions in writing from Microsoft. They want the official documents. They don't want to pass this thing through with a wink and a handshake. In Microsoft, I know that everybody falls back on Satya's claims that, hey, we're not going to have to give up any concessions. Look, all the public speaking that at Microsoft has been doing, whether it's Satya, whether it's Phil, they're voicing concessions. But some of these regulatory bodies aren't going to allow that without something in writing. And I think a lot of this is simply gearing up for that moment when they say, okay, well, we hear your side, Microsoft and Xbox. You brought a compelling argument as to why this deal is not going to hurt Sony, is not going to hurt the consumer, and is actually going to be good for the industry. You brought us a compelling argument. We like what we're hearing. Now we want to see it all written out, and we want years included in on that. And we want this, and we want that. And that's where it's going to be the back and forth begins. If Microsoft and Xbox, I love how I actually love how everybody's hyper focused on the big games here, Mav. I actually think that favors Microsoft at the end of the day, because Microsoft has already said, we're cool. But we're not taking those games off. Doesn't make any sense. Makes no business sense. There's a whole lot more. Everybody hyper focuses on the big stuff, especially Call of Duty. And I get why. It's the most front facing of this deal. It's the biggest name that we know, along with World of Warcraft and those types of things, Overwatch, Diablo. But at the end of the day, Microsoft wasn't interested in Activision Blizzard just for those IP. There's a whole lot more they want. And that's why they're willing to concede a lot of it, because this is bigger to their plans, not 5 years from now, but 10, 15, 20 years from now on the back end. And that King, now everybody laughs when Phil brought that up in the interview, but that's the reality of the situation. And they mentioned that again in their response, because really they want that mobile market. And right now, they don't have any expertise in the mobile market, especially designing games and apps and all that kind of stuff. Yes, they've done it in the past, but we've seen how that's turned out for them, right? Love my Windows Phone, but we all know where it went. So I think that there's just more to this deal at the end of the day. So I think that that's fine. I expected this from, again, I didn't know it was going to be public. I expected the UK, EU is going to be another one.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't do it as public as the UK, but I'm sure there's going to be
That was very posturing. Yes. Like, I mean, I gotta say,
yes.
I mean, as far as to put that block emoji in there was like, whoa, okay, calm down. Right. I understand, you know, but like you're a Twitch streamer that does, you know, what's it called? ASMR, like that you just like got into part time to make your social media post. You might want to have them rethink how they're doing some of their posting, you know.
But I think that, you know, and again, Polybaba, perfect example. He said they want BattleNet infrastructure. Yes, that's a big part of this too. Yeah. That's going to help them in a lot of ways with their Windows side of gaming, right? We know that, right? Again, this deal's so much bigger. We're all, as gamers, especially us console gamers, are all focused on those games. Right, we know what it's going to mean for us. And again, I think Bav and I are both in the same boat. Could care less if they're exclusive or not. Don't care. They're showing up on Game Pass. And for all those people who still, for some reason, thought that there was no chance that Call of Duty and Diablo and Overwatch were going to all show up on Game Pass, well, guess what? Phil put that to bed today with official statements. Okay, he flat out said we'll put them in Game Pass. So that's going to happen. For me, that's all that matters as a Game Pass subscriber. I don't care. I understand that everybody wants, or some people out here would like to see Sony really fall all the way down to third place real quick, like, and really be in the hard times just to kind of give them a taste of what they did when they dominated Xbox last generation. I get that. I understand. I'm not in that boat. I don't care. If you're giving me more value for my Game Pass subscription by throwing all those games in there, I'm a happy camper. But I think that, like you said, Matt, when it comes down to it and this push to shove is going to happen. Again, the deal's too big. There's no way that regulatory bodies are just going to step aside and be like, yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, this is they're going to earn their paycheck on this.
Yes, this is their bread and butter. They can lay down rules. And again, Microsoft is now, and I've said this from the beginning, the other advantage they have, if this deal gets through, which I still believe it's going to, now I've pushed my timeline into 2023 after today's stuff. I have moved myself off of this year and it happening. But if this goes through, Microsoft is setting the guidelines for every other major company that comes along and tries to get into this industry or is already in this industry, but tries to make these big publisher deals. They're setting the rules for everybody right now. And so Microsoft understands that. And they also get the fact that, hey, if they turn out to be the nice guys in all of this, and they do get concessions, the next big deal that comes through from one of these companies, if Amazon decides to jump in, if Tencent decides to go hog wild somewhere and really buy in, whatever the case may be, Apple, like you said, Matt, if Apple jumps into this game, if that happens, they're going to have to follow the guidelines that Microsoft and Xbox are setting up right now. That's going to be precedence. So as much as the regulatory bodies right now are earning their money by doing all this posturing and saber rattling and all this kind of stuff and getting concessions from Microsoft, Microsoft is on the other side also setting the tone for all future deals down the road. And Microsoft and Xbox know they have the advantage. They know they have the advantage because they've dealt with this stuff for decades upon decades. It may not have been directly in the games industry. It may be different now in 2022, but at the same time, they're set up to handle this. The next company might come along, try to buy their way into this gaming industry by picking up a big giant publisher, might not have that same advantage. They might have problems. They might not want to give up concessions like Xbox and Microsoft. Microsoft knows that. This is going to cause some stalls for some other companies who Phil has talked about and warned he doesn't want in this industry because they don't understand the gaming industry. It's going to cause some problems and roadblocks for those types of companies. And that's what they're expecting too on the other side. But I think at the end of the day, deal gets done. I do think it's 2023 now. I think it's probably earlier 2023, probably February, March time. Hogue thought even maybe middle, but I still think early 2023.
Yeah, and a lot of the experts also that are not Pong and I that are weighing in on this also believe the deal from the start was going to get done sometime in 2023, right? Mm-hmm. So Well, obviously,
Yeah,
we'd
we were
love to.
hoping.
We'd love
I
for it
was
to be
hoping
done
from the
sooner.
gaming side.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
for
and I'm
sure.
sure Microsoft would love to do it. And who knows? Maybe they get to this they get through this 5 days, and whatever the UK wants to see, Microsoft just concedes, signs it, gets it through, and we move on to the next one, right? Maybe they just do that.
Yeah.
We don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be a whole lot of back and forth here.
Yeah.
But maybe that happens. So there's still
and there's
chance,
already been changes Microsoft's been making in order to appease the regulators. We saw that with the EU actually just last week, actually, with the that open app policy letter talking about also the cloud and how they were going to be redoing the licensing for their cloud for their partners and stuff like that to make it more flexible. That was in direct response to conversations between the EU and them during this process that they originally announced back in May. We're going to be working on with feedback from the EU, and now they've announced a date that's actually going to take place. So they've already been, from the start, setting the groundwork to appease all these regulators around the world. And they've already, we have found out, I think in Kotick's response letter, that they've received approval in a few different countries at least already, not just the Saudi Arabia one that we already knew about, but there has been, I guess, some other ones that have already signed off on it, or not signed off on it, just said, okay, yeah, we're not going to block this or whatever. And then we still got several more to go, but the biggest hurdle ones that we've all known about are, you know, the European side, UK, and then the FTC. So once those go through, then we're golden. And if there's one that does not, then there's going to be more discussion, and it drags on a little bit longer, and more discussions back and forth way before anything ever goes to court, right? Again, like, I believe that would be the worst case scenario for Activision employees. It would be the worst case scenario for Microsoft, Activision. Nobody wants to be tied up that long in a battle like that. And that's why I was wondering if that did happen, could they just say, well, screw everybody, we're going to do it anyway, and then and then fight it in courts or something? Because I think some people have taken that energy before, but I don't know exactly how it works with a lot of these different places. So they could also decide to exclude business from certain territories and things like that as well.
Yeah, they can divest themselves of business, but that gets really tricky. And so they can do a lot of different things. Even if, you know, like, let's say the US passes it, everybody else passes, but UK and EU don't, they could still figure out a way to still do business by divesting themselves of certain things, entities from over there.
It's a pain in the ass nobody wants to deal with. It's a lot easier to make the concessions that you need to make in order to just to get everything go through. And they've been real upfront about that. Well, you know, like Phil's letter sounds like, okay, yeah, just reminding you guys we're the good guys. We already said we do all this stuff. We welcome the questions. You know, I understand it's a big deal. You know, we're going to do whatever we need to do. And, you know, this is for the people. This is for the people. Sony's out here making deals against the people. Just reminded you just in a backhanded way that's happening right now. You know what I mean? But, you know, you're defending them. So I'm just going to kind of ease back and kind of just let you know we're good, right? And cool. So we're going to sign off on whatever we need to. Just let's get going on this thing, right? It's kind of what it seems like to me. So,
you know, there's been some interesting conversations out here, and shout out to the people jumping in here too. Fahim Scott, I see you, brother. Always appreciate you. You know that. Kid Creed, great to see you. Phasma, great to see you back, sister. Awesome to have you in the chat. Boba Fett Gaming. Saw Mr. Boomstick jump in here. Tony Grasso, 3-bit, brother. What's going on? Nix is in the house as well. JCon79, always great to see you. JCon's comment, it's funny how Sony can keep games off other platforms and do things that affect other companies, and no one cares, but when it's poor Sony that could be affected, now all of a sudden it's a bad thing. And that's what I was just going to bring up here, because there's been some interesting conversations. Dead Planet, great to see you. Psychonauts, I think I shouted you out before, brother. Mr. Joanna Dark, always great to see you as well. Infinite Umbra jumping in here. Mr. Boomstick, again, great to see you, Boom, as always. I understand, like, it's really hard. Like, we're talking, you know, we're talking from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
We always do this, of course. None of us are in the industry outside of 3-bit, right? For the most part, there's some other people that are in the industry. So we're always talking from the outside looking in. And when we get into this government regulations, I mean, again, nobody that I know of that we have in our crews is an attorney, right? So I don't think anybody's gone to law school or anything. So we're always talking from just the armchair status, which we do a lot, of course.
speculation.
It is hard. It is hard to look at what Sony has been doing for generations, like Jaycon points out, and say, why does nobody ever look at that stuff? And I think the best response, and Holt kind of touched on it today, because I think somebody asked him in his chat as well, is that because those deals are so small, yeah, they may add up to a big thing, and to us gamers they are, but regulatory bodies don't look at that stuff. They look at major deals like this, right? And that's why you saw the class action lawsuit against Sony this week in the UK, even though it's frivolous, it's probably not going to go anywhere. Yeah. But the fact is, that's what it's going to take, is actual gamers getting class action lawsuits together that actually have some meat on the bone, so that they can go ahead and start addressing some of these issues if there's legal reasons to do so. But again, those types of deals normally aren't illegal for competition, because again, they're one here, one there, one here, one there. It's not, again, to these regulatory bodies, that's not preventing Microsoft from competing in any way, shape, or form, and it's not hurting the consumer. Now, I would argue, and I said this in our DMs this week, that the secrecy of this industry with timed exclusivity deals specifically, and I want to ask Hogue, and I might hit him up in the DMs and see if he just answers me, because he's such a cool guy anyways. But I want to ask him if he thinks that there's any merit to whatsoever to a class action lawsuit from us gamers against, or not necessarily against, timed exclusivity deals, but to know the details of timed exclusivity deals so that we can
at
make
least the
length, right? And if something's extended, we get to know that. If something turns to permanent exclusivity, we get to know that, because I think there might be, and again, this is totally just naivety on my part, I have no idea. But to me, the time exclusivity affects the consumers being able to make an educated choice when they go to buy something, an educated purchase decision, when you have those timed exclusivity deals in place, and they're so secret that we get to know nothing. Again, remember, the Final Fantasy VII Remake had a sticker on the box that specifically said console exclusivity for 1 year. Boom's got the proof. Boom actually still has a copy with that sticker on it. So they put that out there, but it's nowhere to be found on Xbox.
Yeah.
Now, if that was a decision internally, we should know about that so that we can all make that decision. If we want to play that game, hey, now I got to go buy it on PlayStation. So I think that there might be some merit there, but that's what it would take to do this. Matt, have you seen any other interesting discussions today about what's going on here? Any other interesting points?
Just, I mean, maybe like you've mentioned Hogue's video a lot. I've seen Tom Warren point some stuff out, like just basically how, the posturing. I'll say this, like, too, like, the one thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way, and this is why I went live yesterday too, because there's a lot of hypocrisy with like journalism and stuff like this, which could also lead to misconceptions to government bodies or regulators and different things as well about the industry as a whole. Because if you're looking at basically the supposed voice of the people or whatever, journalism and stuff like that, there's a lot of mistakes out there, right, that have been propelled ever since the start of that deal. And it seems like the CMA is actually trying to protect Sony from something from happening to Sony, what Sony's been doing to Microsoft, with withholding a game from their platform, right? Or multiple games in this instance, right? And Microsoft used to do it too, so everybody's cool with it. But you know what I mean? It's like they stopped doing that. Right, for the most part, at least, as far as the big games and stuff like that. Phil Spencer's very publicly not really for that. And it seems like PlayStation's been doing this for so long now, it's just been accepted, right, as a form of business. And as far as even to get exclusive Quest and games for their platform. Meanwhile, you have, again, a regulator, CMA, go ahead and say, hey, you're not allowed to take something away from them because it'll impact their business. It's so hypocritical with like Sony's actual response. We got into this before when we actually got the Brazilian documents, that the hypocrisy from Sony there. And we alluded a lot into that in that situation. And it was obviously, we thought Sony was going to try and challenge this, like for sure. I mean, it's in their business's best interest to. That they should try and challenge it. If you're trying to run a good business, I don't think anybody's faulting them. It was just the language that they used in their case against it that made them come across really weak. And that's why the CMA argument comes across really weak, because it's Sony's voice coming through there. And the fact that it's such a hypocritical take now from a regulatory body that knows nothing about the industry, obviously, because they know nothing about all these other deals that have been taking place for so long, that I'm sure Microsoft is happy to point out, and maybe they already have, but they just have chose to ignore it, that guess what? You're trying to protect something from happening to a industry leader that industry leader's been using to take advantage to get in the lead for an entire generation, or longer than that, really, right? So this just doesn't make any sense. That's why I don't think it holds any weight. I've been seeing a lot of sue them, like just sue them, all these kind of things, or like to let it go to court and all that kind of stuff too. And that's, again, like we said, that's the worst case scenario. I think the main thing to take away is that I don't think anything is going to happen differently, in my opinion. And most of the experts that are out there are kind of saying this as well. I think for the most part, a lot of them have expected concessions to be made before this deal is complete. As been saying from the start, Microsoft themselves said fiscal year 2023 and ending in June. And so far, we're still on track for that. And nothing has changed except for the posturing that these bodies are using to prop themselves up publicly, using this major acquisition that's going to get a lot of attention to do so. That's the thing that's just like really like weird, like seeing that with the emojis and stuff. It's just strange, right? Hey, no, Microsoft, block emoji. We're gonna take a look at this. We're moving to phase 2. It's like, okay, right on, let's just do that, and you don't have to make a big old stink about it, right? So I think it was interesting to see, because the other thing, it is at least it has significance. Otherwise, you wouldn't see the responses from all these high ups today as well. Like you got a direct response from Phil Spencer, from Kotick.
They were prepared. They knew this was coming, right? They knew 100%. This was coming. Somebody else in chat said that I was kind of cutting in and out as well. Let me know if I fixed it at all. I had it turned on the auto filter.
What's weird is I can hear you crystal clear coming through on my headset.
I know. I just want to make sure. But anyways, that is funny, man. The other one that I saw, which it was, of course, being used in a console war fashion, but at the end of the day, with how much of a stink Sony is putting up, and again, I expected this. Again, they're protecting their business. How much of a stink Sony's putting up with it? How much these regulatory bodies are mentioning Call of Duty, hyper focused on Call of Duty,
because the only challenge they're getting.
Yeah, I saw it brought up. So you're telling me Sony can't compete with all Call of Duty?
Yeah,
is what you're telling me. And honestly,
not just that, just the marketing rights for Call of Duty.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like that, without the marketing rights, you're saying Sony has no reasonable chance
of existing.
Right, from the number one spot.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Nintendo's number one. That's okay. You guys know what I'm saying when I say that. Sony's the market leader when it comes to mind share. Okay. So you're telling me that marketing deal with Call of Duty is so vital to their entire platform. Legitimately, like I said, I saw it on the console war side. I had to chuckle a little bit because when I stopped and I thought about it, I'm like, well, I know why you guys are using it, but there's some truth to it here, because Sony is absolutely fighting tooth and nails over this, and all these regulatory bodies are taking their side in some shape or form and saying this could have major lasting impact upon the entire industry, and specifically Sony, because Call of Duty would now be an Xbox first party title, and it would be on Game Pass, and probably more than likely not be in a PlayStation Plus Premium. That's how big this is. Bro, come on. Is that what you're really going with? We know how fast this industry changes.
Yeah.
We know what's happened. We've seen the history of this industry, nobody stepped up and said boo when Sega failed, going from one arguably the king of video games at one point. Again, them and Nintendo were 1 and 2, 1A, 1B. But they went from the kings of the industry to dropping out of the console market completely because a new entity showed up in Sony and decided to change the game. And Sony helped them in that failure, but nobody stepped up and said, wait a minute.
Where were you then, CMA? Where were you then to save Sony?
Sega?
To save Sega, right? I mean. Where were you?
Yeah.
Where were you to save Sega? Come on, let's reverse back time. Go back in time. Save Sega from Sony.
So I just think at the end of the day that the deal goes through. It's going to take more time. Obviously, if Luke Steele is correct, and I trust him because, again, he does deal with the CMA. He has dealt with them.
Yeah.
24 weeks for phase 2. That automatically puts us into 2023. With the Microsoft having already provided all the paperwork to the FTC, Matt, you and I were going back in the DMs the other day too about this. I can't imagine the man hours that have been put into this.
Oh yeah.
I cannot imagine what this looks like. I can't imagine the amount of emails, the amount of paperwork. It's simply mind-boggling to think about this when you're dealing with these worldwide regulatory bodies and all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. But I got to imagine that they've got most of their ducks in a row, ready to rock and roll. So they're going to provide probably more information than even the UK requires. And then it's just going to be on the UK to go through it. But I don't think we're going to have any dragging of feet here. So I hope that 24 weeks, it's on the lower end of that 24 weeks. But that still puts us into 2023 at the end of the day. So, which sucks. I know a lot of us were hoping for 2022 late. Christmas gift underneath the tree with all the Call of Duties dropping into Game Pass along with everything else. It would have been amazing to see that happen. But I think that now it's not going to happen. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Do you think Microsoft's going to get a little petty and start behind the scenes really pointing out some of the negative side from the other side of the industry to shed some light, because
they're in education mode right now, Matt, because they got to educate all these regulatory bodies, because these regulatory bodies don't know this industry at all, obviously. I think they're at every twist and turn as they supply these documents, they're going to supply documents that show what Sony's been doing, why this is fair competition. The whataboutism is a fair play here. I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think they're going to notify everybody they possibly can. This is how Sony does their business, which impacts our business. This is why we have to go make this move in order to be able to compete with where we're going in the future. That's going to be pointed out nonstop, right? And they do it every turn. Even the public statements, they do it in their own way. Like I said, there's a lot of shade in that statement. So I think they are, for sure.
Right on.
For sure. Yeah.
Shut
hey,
up.
Look at that.
Like a spooky. What's up, man?
Yeah, Spooky. What's going on, brother? Oh, I'll read it. Super chat from Spooky Sprockets, an Australian $7.99. Thank you, brother. Hey, my two brothers from another mother, Pong, bringing the soul as always. Maverick flying to the danger zone. PM in the PM. Let's go. That's what we do here, man. We're trying.
Mate.
We're trying. We're having a good time.
G'day, mate.
G'day, Mike. Yeah. You got some ruse out front? All right, let's see here. What else we got? All right. Well, that was our first hour already. Damn.
Yeah.
Bombarded that one. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate all of you again for the support and love. Let's
you can also just let everybody know we got some fuck the CMA t-shirts on sale in the no, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just
oh damn. I was gonna be like, wow, you guys got those up fast.
No, I'm just kidding.
Shout out Caitlin. Oh man, that would have been great. You should put those up, man.
Just like white t-shirts with black letters, just like fuck the CMA.
Just do the red circle with the slash with a CMA in it,
and put like a Call of Duty like logo with Xbox logo. Yeah,
bro, they'd sell for sure.
Yeah, hey babe, get on it.
get on it, Caitlin. Let's see here. All right, man. So we had some other disappointing news today, as well. On top of all the CMA stuff, on top of going back and forth with it, what's going on, what's happening. And I'm going to obviously lean into you on this. I could not watch the video. I don't know if you watched the video. But Halo finally showed off
Some good news, right?
Their roadmap.
Yeah.
Well, some are very happy. Some think that this is better than how it initially looks. Others, not so much. Again, this is the Halo community, so we get it from all different sides here. I mean, that's kind of how it rolls.
All sides. Yeah.
The Halo community is not going to be happy no matter what happens. Okay, let's just put it out there. But, listen, everybody knows they came out and announced that Halo, that the new season of Halo was supposed to begin in November. Correct, Mav? November?
Well, actually, originally,
yes.
it was supposed to be 3-month seasons, and
Okay,
they announced that it was
that.
season 2. Yeah, I'm just gonna put things into true perspective because season 2 was supposed to be 3 months, and they just said, well, we're gonna have a 6-month season, and they did a long explanation on that, so on, and here we are today. Okay,
here we are today.
Yes,
we were supposed to have co-op by the end of August. We are now September 1st, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Yep, September 1st. We were supposed to have co-op at the end of August. They promised
co-op beta was supposed to be here now.
Yeah, co-op beta, correct. Yep. They had promised the Halo community after Halo 5 that they would never again have a Halo without couch co-op. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That is accurate. That was a statement. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, that was
from Bonnie Ross, I believe, actually.
Okay. So they dropped last night, came and kind of went. There was some, there was a couple tweets from some people within 343 that said they would put out the roadmap today. Some people questioned where co-op was, and there wasn't such, great response back. It was more like, well, things kind of can change, but you'll see tomorrow. So they dropped this roadmap today. And so what we got here is a failure to communicate. All right. So they dropped the roadmap. We're not getting Halo Infinite Season 3, which is titled Echoes Within. We are not getting that in November. What we are getting is a Halo Infinite Winter Update. And that is going to run from November 8th through March 7th of 2023. So no Season 3 until March of 2023 now. So that makes this Season 2 10 months long. Is that correct, Mav?
That is correct, Pongsol.
Okay. All right. So what we are getting with the winter update, and again, I didn't watch the video. So if anybody watched the video and they gave specific dates on this stuff, please let me know. Mav,
they did November 8th.
Okay.
There's a bunch of stuff coming on November 8th.
Okay, so November 8th. Is the Forge beta showing up on November 8th?
Yes.
Okay, so we're getting Forge beta on November 8th.
We're also getting campaign co-op and mission
campaign co-op.
Network campaign co-op and also campaign mission replay and 2 Forge maps that were made by 343
and Argyle, right?
Yeah, and
a 30-tier battle
free battle pass where they are beta testing actual match experience, like match gained experience points.
You have to explain that one to me, Matt, by the way.
Yeah, I will. Gladly.
I don't understand. I don't understand. And Mav and I will get back to the Forge because this is a bright spot for Halo Infinite. We've talked about it plenty here, but we'll get back to this. The Forge beta launching in November is going to be a big deal. And they also said we get a new game mode, Convert One Flag, it's called. Oh, Covert.
Covert flag.
Covert. Yeah. One Flag.
In describing that, they called it like Spies versus Mercs.
Okay. All right.
It was interesting. Like that one team is like invisible, like full infinite cloaking ability. The other team has infinite sensors. And then also one team, the ones that are invisible are trying to capture the flag, and they have like pistols and plasma rifles, I believe. And the other team is like has a sword and like battle rifle or something. I can't remember exactly the weapons, but it was more like, you're like a covert squad versus a fully like armed squad, and you're trying to sneak in and capture the flag. It's like a capture the flag mode. Seems pretty cool, I have to say.
They also announced we're getting a December event called Winter Contingency 2 and a January event called Joint Fire. and then a bunch of quality of life improvements, which I believe they detailed a ton within the video itself. From what I saw, there was plenty of clips going
Yeah.
around. They were talking about this. On top of this, and then season 3 beginning March 7th through June 27th. So they're trying to get to that 3-month kind of season.
Yeah,
They're trying.
13 weeks is
It's
their goal. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're trying to get there. Not quite, but March 7th through June 27th will be season 3, again titled Echoes Within. New maps for Arena and Big Team Battle. 2 more maps. New weapon, M392 Bandit. New equipment, the Shroud Screen. A brand new 100-tier Battle Pass. Custom game browsers. In-game reporting. VIP and escalation. New Fracture event. New narrative event, Forge beta updates, and quality of life improvements, all within season 3. Along with this roadmap, they also came out and officially said that couch co-op is canceled. Again, 2022, I hear the people out there saying, who the hell cares? Couch co-op. Again, it's something that they promised. It's a legacy feature of Halo. It's something that some people still do enjoy to this day. So it's kind of a big deal to a lot of people out there, some Halo fans. Again, not all, and I understand if you're not interested in it, totally get it. Just like the people who weren't interested in co-op and said, who cares? Don't delay Halo Infinite because a co-op's not going to be there. Don't delay Halo Infinite because Forge is going to be there. We know all that. Mav, we got some explaining to do here. Now, some people, and I've already seen in the chat, are saying that, and I've seen other people in the community, shout out to Ains. He did a great breakdown of this over at Season Gaming as well. You can go check that out. He did a great write-up of what he saw here. Ains is a huge, obviously, Halo fan.
Yeah.
He said that he's taking the winter update, minus the fact that there's no 100-tier battle pass. That's just a 30-tier battle pass. That is kind of Season 3, because they are actually dropping some cool stuff in there. It's not like a complete failure. Right? So, Mav, give me your overview here, and then we'll kind of go into some specifics. But give me your overview when you saw this roadmap. Initial thoughts: were you happy with it? Were you sad? Were you uninstalling Halo Infinite immediately? What was your thought process when you saw this roadmap?
I've never been that far on Halo. Now, I was one of these guilty people saying, don't delay, right? I was like, we need to get it. You know, I was ready for it to launch. It had already been delayed a year. I was ready for Halo, you know, and I had no idea that at the time that they forgot that they were launching a live service game and needed to release frequent content updates for it. And that's just kind of what we've gotten this year. Now, that there's a lot of good in Halo, and Halo Infinite is not doomed by any means, right? There's a lot of doomsday scenarios out there, and I've seen a lot of takes. Well, you know, really what everybody's saying is, well, they should have released it in 2023 by this point, with all of the stuff that they're having to figure out and change. And I think for me, it's kind of like been a weird year for Halo, whereas they built such a solid game, a solid foundation, right, that people love. And gameplay wise, even though there's aspects of it that aren't working as intended right now, that they can't fix because they're working on other things. Gameplay wise, they built an amazing experience, and that's one of the most frustrating things I think for people, is that people really want to be diving into this more and enjoying it more. And it's like the development of the live service aspect of it has been what's holding it back, right? The planned content and things. And that's where the frustration came in for me back when the season 2 announcement came, because I was okay, you know, first hurdle, fine. You know what I mean? Originally they had said season 2 would have been campaign co-op, right? And originally they had actually originally said a few months potentially after delay. Then they moved it into season 2, and now we're moving it onto season 2 being in November. And then that's why when season 2 content was announced, I was like, wow, another 6-month season. And that's part of it. But the other thing is breaking the promises that you've made to the community. And even though there's, for those people that don't play it a lot or whatever, To go out there and say that something's coming for a long time, and to be working on a game that was delayed for a year, and then a year later almost have the game out, and now say you're canceling one of these modes that you had promised numerous times was coming. For those people that were waiting for that and very excited for it, and even maybe bought the game, or the free to play, I guess isn't. Well, the campaign, it's talking about campaign. So bought the game, anticipating that mode was coming, maybe felt like a little disservice was done to them because they were told something that's not happening. And not only told about this game, but told that it was going to be in every Halo going forward now, right? And so that's where a lot of the disappointment comes today, is from kind of like, well, it's not important to us anymore because we got to do work on other things. So guess what? We said that's going to happen, but no, now it's not. And it just kind of nonchalantly just be like, yeah, we're allocating our resources to other things because it's more important. And there's definite criticism to be had. I'm not saying 343 is the worst company ever. I'm not going to blow them out of the water and say, like, you know, they should all be fired and just completely start a new studio or whatever. But when certain things happen, and regardless of the reasonings behind it, at times there's room for criticism here that definitely should be had, and not necessarily that there's anything they can go back and change now. Oh, right. That's where it's like, you know, complaining a lot of times has no, you know, necessarily value to what's happened, but feedback and criticism can be important to what we need to see going forward. And part of the issues that I had today was with actually their video and the whole opening portion of that. Now, granted, a lot of what they said makes a lot of sense, and where they're going makes a lot of sense. Now they're being very transparent on this. But they have these pillars that they're going over, and of the importance and how they're going to be changing and trying to figure out things to get to what they call seasonality. Right. Again, it's a word I heard a lot today. It was seasonality. They need to get to seasonality. They need to get to that 13-week season. My issue with this now is that when they decided to launch a live service game, that should have been one of the first priorities in making sure that it's handled properly. Right. And they've had a lot of development struggles, and they admitted to it. They took the L today. Like, you're like, look, we're not going to say we didn't have challenges. You know, they were very humble about that. You know, they delivered a lot of silver lining, good news in here as well. Right. So I was talking a little bit beforehand. There is some good stuff that came out of this show, so it's not all bad. Right. But looking back, and why wasn't this more of a priority to begin with? Why wasn't co-op more of a priority to begin with? Why wasn't the seasonal content and the plan already set out in place? Right. And bottom line is, it just seems like they just hadn't even really gotten that far. Right. They launched a game probably way sooner than it should have been, without a necessarily great plan in place. And that leads to me where the criticism should be due, and that's could be management issues and stuff that were there at the time of Halo Infinite being in development. I think they're doing what they can now to rectify and issue a lot of this stuff, fix a lot of this stuff, and get things on the right track. And that's where I felt like there was some good momentum today. But it doesn't necessarily, because we've heard this before numerous times. Like, this is the third time now we've had one of these sit down disappointment things where they have to apologize to the community on the state of Halo Infinite, right? You had one before the game launched. You had one with season 2. Then you have one now with a roadmap going into this, going into March, right? When the actual season 3 starts. The other question I have is, why did they decide to do exactly how they did that? And they explained it a little bit. They wanted to have this like 4-month shorter season to be able to reset, basically, to give them that better chance next year, right? Which is kind of almost, for me, to be honest with you, seems like a little bit of a cop-out. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we're going to give ourselves that extra leeway. Maybe they need it, right? But what they're releasing in season 3, or what would have been season 3, also seems like it could have been worthy of a shorter season in and of itself. So that's where you're seeing some of the takes out there saying, why don't you just call that season 3 and then having the season 4 in March? And probably because they didn't want to come out with the fact that there's going to be like another like 4.5 month season. Right. So they're calling this like, it's basically an extension. It's like this leeway period where they're doing a free battle pass to everybody. Right. I do not think that battle pass has enough levels in it.
Yep.
Because that's supposed to last you from November to March, and it's only 30 levels. If you play a lot of Halo Infinite, especially with what they're talking about and how they're changing this battle pass, that's going to run through pretty damn fast. So I think that they could have added some teeth to that as well. They did add some other things. There's the two maps that are coming. They showed today, which look pretty promising. They're Forge maps. Again, Forge is blowing everybody away. And that's the biggest silver lining from all of this, right? That this November, it's almost like, here's how I look at it. It's like this whole last year is just a wash, right? It was like Halo Infinite was in game preview, right? And then now,
way to look at it,
and then November, we're going to be in beta phase. Right? And Halo Infinite's going to be in beta phase from November to March, with the official launch of how the Halo is supposed to be ran with the live service features actually launching in March of 2023. Right? That's basically the timeline that has happened for me with Halo Infinite, right? We've had all this testing, all these changes, all these things like, you know, fixing this, trying to get the modes that should have been there at launch into the game, and it's still not there yet. Again, without a few months, maybe originally, it's still not there. And it seems to me now we're going into November with all the modes that should have been there now, like with Forge and campaign co-op, minus the split screen co-op that they've now canceled, which everybody has a right to be upset about that. And then going into March, when you actually have the chance for them to achieve what they're calling seasonality, where they can actually have a good amount of content each season and try and get closer to that 13-week timeline. Now, they didn't guarantee that's going to happen. They were rightfully so not making any guarantees or dates today beyond that, right? They were basically saying like, hey, look, that's what our end goal is, really, is 13 weeks. But like right now it's 6 months and we need to get down from that, right? And that's where we're supposed to be at season 3 in March. Now, what they're doing with this 30 tier battle pass, why they said that it's free, which obviously it should be free. Like, you can't just say it's free because of this reason, because that was like a cop out. It should be free, period, right? If you're not having a full season of content, you're not having a full battle pass, period, it should be free, right? So, but the reason they gave that it was free, this 30 tier battle pass, is because they are doing match XP, match earned XP, like based on how you perform and how you do, and they don't know how it's going to work. Basically, they don't know how it's going to perform. They don't know like how, if people are going to run through it too fast, too slow, if people are going to like it, not like the challenges, whatever they do. But they're experimenting with it, and they didn't feel right with charging people for an experiment. But it's only 30 tiers, which is kind of what I have issue with. Now, they are giving also another armor core with that.
Okay,
so that's cool. It's a Halo Reach armor core. I think it was Mark 5, if I remember correctly. I can't remember for sure. So we do get an armor core. We get some unlockables. We get campaign co-op. We get Forge. We get 2 Forge maps. And then when season 3 rolls around, custom game browser. And also 2 more new maps, a big team battle map and a arena map. But by that time, Forge with a custom game browser will have been out. Correct. Which I'm disappointed that's not there earlier. I wish that was there in November.
Big thing we talked about
because
Forge originally.
Forge is going to really take off once that custom game browser is implemented, because basically you're going to be able to take advantage of that and have the community experience really be enhanced once that custom game browser is out there. Now, people are going to make some awesome Forge maps, and people are going to be able to find them. And you're going to be able to search for them. You're going to be able to potentially, hopefully, download them and all these different things. And these are different experiences. But until that custom game browser is there, it's going to be a hard time finding those experiences or hosting them, right? So I think that custom game browser would have been great if it was launching in November instead of season 3. However, it's still, we know it's coming, and that's what they said is season 3 for that. So it's kind of like, for me, it's almost like the beta of the launch of what is the real Halo Infinite launching in March. And
Correct.
we're having, the good news is that there's so much content with this little time period. They don't really, I don't know what they're calling it, winter contingency 2 or whatever. There's so much stuff in there that is going to
Winter
appease
season.
people. Yeah. That's going to appease people and keep them content happy, I believe, with the Forge and different things to play with. That I'm hoping that goes a long way with the community at that point. But there's no mistaking, today was still a big L, right?
Mhm.
Again, having to come out there and be like, look, we're not where we need to be. We're still fixing all these issues. They laid out the priority list. They need to fix. I don't have it in front of me, but they basically had like the community experience. You know, they had like the content, the seasonality, and all these different things, right? I think actually Jasper put it in our DM, so I'm gonna read those. And my mouse died, of course. Hold on, guys. This is why you don't buy a wireless mouse. But I got to try and clear off desk space.
I think all your points are valid here, Mav. And I think again, is not being on the side of doom and gloom, like it's over with for Halo. Like none of us have been that way, at least on Fun Speculations channel, where it's like over with. But the criticisms are valid. And again, our criticisms go all the way back prior to even launch. And there's different sections of this community. Again, you're never going to make all Halo fans happy. And there's Halo fans who will defend 343 until until the end of days. And that's fine as well. But all of our speculation on what was going on internally has kind of panned out at this point. And again, not saying I'm dev, not saying I make games for a living, because obviously I freaking don't. Not saying I lead a team of devs. But what I am saying is 343 was not a brand new studio. This is a studio that's been around for a long time. And it's in fact a studio that's made up primarily of former Bungie employees, a lot of them. And they've just made some decisions that are real head scratchers. And so I think that all of that has culminated to this point where we are now with Halo Infinite. Again, I wasn't on the delay Halo train either. I said, you've got to get it out there. Whatever happens, get it out there. It's been long enough. Get it out there. Let the community play with it. Got to have Halo Infinite. At this point, I don't know if it would have made a huge difference to delay it. Because the absolute shitstorm that would have happened with another delay, that would have been there as well. And we might still be at this point where we're still missing features or things weren't complete. And then you'd have a whole nother, well, what the hell? You delayed it for 2 years. Now what? I think this goes back to those internal problems that we speculated on, that we saw smoke and heard smoke from some people out there, that there was a lot of turmoil internally, that their reliance on contracted devs, their heavily reliance on contracted devs has also led to a lot of problems as well on this development. But make no mistake about it, Microsoft, I think that we can say, now I'm not going to run with the stupid numbers that have been out there, but I'm sure that Halo Infinite is one of the most expensive games ever made at Microsoft. I can almost guarantee it just by the sheer number of devs that worked on this for that many years. And the fact that now we've heard that they had to get Halo Infinite out the door, that they scrapped a lot of the game, that obviously when Joseph Staten showed up, which was a huge move, and again, we applauded that move, and I still applaud that move. He is now the face of Halo Infinite, which is great. He brought stability, but obviously he made some really tough decisions after he got in and saw what the status of this game was, and he knew that they needed to ship. And so he made some very big decisions. And then after they finally got it shipped, which was just last November, he could finally sit down, and the team, the upper management of that team could sit down and maybe start undoing some of the knots and figuring out restructuring that studio so that they could get on what, obviously they're calling now seasonality, that they were going to have to undo a lot of what had been tangled mess to get to that point where they were organized so that they could go ahead and get on a regular schedule with Halo Infinite, which again, as a games as a service, is vital, and we all know this. Again, like I said, the bad part is that Microsoft, or I should say, it's good and bad, right? 343 can lean on the fact that Microsoft doesn't need Halo like they used to because there's so much else going on. Now, again, we didn't get any first party titles this year, big AAA titles this year, which is another whole issue that we've talked about. But at the same time, they've got so much going on that Halo isn't the be all end all like it once was. So they can lean on that, and they can take this time they need to get this right. And again, I've said from the beginning, they're going to get it right. And Forge, I believe, again, just this week, I saw Toy Story level recreated. I saw that the guys who are making the Mario Kart got turtle shells to work in that version. Forge is going to be gigantic.
It's going to be a game changer, and they called it that today as well. It is going to be a massive game changer. Again, I think the custom game browser needs to be out there to have the full effect. But Forge is going to be another level of Halo that we've never seen before, because guess what? The maps that are also being made look more like regular maps too, not Forge maps, which is a big improvement also. They talked a lot about that too.
So I just think that it's good and bad because they can lean on it, but it becomes a crutch.
Yeah.
Right. But again, if internally it is as it appears to have been internally, and they've got that much to work out, and it's taken them this long, and don't forget, Joseph Staten basically kind of came out and admitted themselves that, hey, we need to give our team a big break here because we're burnt out. Because to get that game out the door, it was all hands on deck. And I'm sure there was some crunch. And again, Microsoft is against crunch now. We're in an anti-crunch culture. So I'm sure that's not what they wanted. And I'm sure there was plenty of people who were up in arms over it. So they gave them that big, 3-4 month break where they basically weren't doing anything, which kind of delayed this as well. But if it's taking that much time to undo whatever tangled messes were internally, I think that at the same time, we still have all plenty to play. The Halo community is disappointed in a lot of ways, which is fair, but criticism is fair of this studio. Again, it's 2022. These games might not be the easiest things to make in the world, but there's plenty of examples out there of how to do it properly. So the roadmap's been laid out to you from that standpoint. It's not you're starting from scratch, creating a whole new genre here. You're not. Yes, it's your own individual game. Yes, there's going to be differences, but the general idea behind games as service has now been close to perfected, and everybody knows what it takes. But at the end of the day, Halo is going to be Halo, and it's going to be fine. And when this thing does get straightened out, people are going to come back, and people are going to have fun. And if this Forge comes out the way that they're saying it's going to come out, and everything that we're seeing, I saw somebody create the AT-ATs the other day from Star Wars, for God's sakes. If this Forge is this deep, and they're going to continue to improve this Forge because it's only launching in beta, my God, the community is going to supply so much content for people, and who knows what's going to come out of it. I've always said from the beginning, you give this community, any community, enough tools, and you could have the next big thing drop in your laps from outside of your own dev team that all of a sudden everybody has to play. It could be a new mode that nobody thought of before that becomes the biggest sensation. And next thing you know, you've got 1 million people concurrently playing Halo again. That's how easy this is nowadays. So again, Halo's not going anywhere. It's not failed. I hope they get things right in 343. There does have to be some restructuring from, again, the outside looking in. Absolutely needs some changes in there. They can't have what they currently have, or what they had, I should say, prior to all of this. If they're getting it right, if Joseph Staten is now the face of the franchise, congratulations. That's a big move. I think that's the way to go. And I think that they're going to figure this stuff out, and they're going to get it fixed. But today, again, overall, like you said, Mav, it's got to be taken as a disappointment, and the criticism is fair. Again, I'm not talking about the hateful, just personal stuff that gets thrown out there at these guys and gals. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actual criticism of what they've promised, what they haven't delivered, kind of always saying, hey, we've got this laid out, and then coming through and saying, well, actually, no, we don't have it laid out. We got to push it again. They got to get back on track with a regular schedule and get this going. And once it does, I think Halo will be fine. But we just got to get there. But today was definitely not a good day. Again, for Halo, just in my opinion. Again, if you think everything's fine, you think V343 is great, awesome. There's nothing wrong with that either. That's fine. So again, people hated Cyberpunk 2077. I love Cyberpunk. And I said CD Projekt Red, the only thing they did was put out the old last gen version. That's the only screw up they had. So for me, that's a hill I died on, and I love Cyberpunk. So I understand. But Mav, did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah, I have their kind of checklist. Jasper reordered it for us because he thinks they messed up on the priorities. They went left or right on priority where they were talking about it, like infinite. Okay. So this was kind of like some of the stuff that they felt like is some of the stuff they're working on, and part of the reasons why season 3 is not launching in November, because this is taking precedent. Okay. So they're reworking the way that people get rewarded. They want people to have infinitely feel rewarded when you're playing the game. Part of live service game, right? I understand. And this is from Sean Barron, who is taking over the live service team. Pretty much. He had taken over.
I was just going to say he got a new position, right?
Yeah, he's now in charge of live service, and it's his job to basically get all these systems in place to that's not necessarily content. Like, it's not like he's in charge of making the maps and stuff like that, but in charge of the flow, basically, of the content coming to the game and the experience of the player when they're engaging with Halo Infinite. So it says infinitely rewarding. Players feel rewarded for playing no matter what they play. I don't know. Maybe that'll transition over into campaign co-op. I hope that would be nice. Also, personal and welcoming. Players feel like they belong and can express their Halo identity in meaningful ways. This went into more customization features also, where he felt like they needed more different, like more variety and more original ideas with some of the armors and stuff you unlock and creative things that you unlock to help embrace player identity and stuff like that. Also, that also goes into welcoming, where he went into basically like reporting instances and making a safer place for gamers and all that kind of stuff. Then he went on to competitive and fair, which goes into like balancing and going into like some of the other issues that's been going on with just basically player balancing. They want to make sure that it's ultra competitive, right? So this is all the issues I had with their video. It's like, this is all like baseline stuff that should have like been thought about like from the get-go. Like this is like just, it's like elementary school for making a video game, right? Like, this is the important pillars that we're focusing on. Shouldn't that be like a core focusing pillar on like every game that is like made, especially a live service game? Anyway, so that I was kind of listening to this and be like, I get it, but it's like, why now are you just like making this a priority, right? It was just weird messaging. So the other thing was stable and high quality. So they're going into making sure that the technical flaws they keep improving the game. They're working a lot on improving the game right now, which a lot of people think gameplay wise is solid. They have desync issues. The number one complaint I see with Halo Infinite right now is desync. He did not mention desync once in this entire sit down at all. But I hear that more than anything else in the community. But that would also lead into the stable and high quality issues. He was mainly they talked a lot about the PC experience and game crashes and stuff like that with the stable and high quality aspect, which they felt like they've been letting players down in those regards as well. But it was just like a lot of stuff that feels like, okay, this is all like PR type talk about how you're correcting the game and blah, 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 blah. And it's awesome. That's cool. That should just be known. Those should be like known things, right? Those should be like an expectation things from gamers, right? Not necessarily something you need to tell back to us that you're working on now. That should have been an expectation for any game that you make, like a live service game, especially from the start, especially a competitive one, right? So it was kind of just like, oh, guess what? We found out that we need to make this more stable. We need to foster a better community. Oh, we need actual content for this thing, and all these kind of things. So that's what their main focus is right now, is those things that they just laid out there. And season 3 and stuff like that, and season this other mid-season thing they're doing is all leading up to that path, and this is why this is all the things they're working on that's taking them to this point. So it was just interesting, like the first half of that, but when they were breaking all this stuff down, even though I felt like the heart's in the right place and the messaging is good to make sure that, you know, people at least know you're working on these things, it's just the specificities, or however you say that damn word, of what they were discussing was a little off focus for me, because that should be a given, right?
Sure.
And then leading up to the other things, you know, was okay, cool. Like I'm excited about the content. I think this like mid-season thing is pretty fair with the amount of content that we're getting. But the weird thing also was just, you know, season 3 being in March again, and then it just makes you question like how the development process is behind the scenes, and are they going to be able to reach their goals of that 13-week time span? How long will it take them to reach that point where they get the content flowing? That's why I think the Forge is so damn important. Because if the community has a lot of focus with Forge and playing awesome Forge maps made by the community can do what 343 can't. Right? Get content into Halo. Because they built something amazing. And if they even had to pull some of the best Forge maps out and put them in rotation, they've done it before with Halo games a lot. They picked back in even the Halo 3 days, you know, you had Forge maps go into the rotation and different matchmaking lists, because guess what? They checked them out and Bungie thought that they were awesome, so they put them there, right? So we played on Forge. It's been all the Halos since then. But Halo 5 had an abundance of Forge maps in rotation, even at launch, right? So I think that content pipeline will be eased with the fact that Forge will be done. But it just kind of, again, it's like messaging that it feels like, yeah, duh, right? Like
correct.
This should have already been an expectation, but go ahead, talk about how you're doing all those things. We all know we want the content, so tell us about the content, right? So anyway.
Nope. I think those are all valid and fair points, Mav. And I think that at the end of the day, again, a lot of it is spilled milk. There's nothing to be done. It's kind of just a wait and see, right? It really is at this point. But there is bright light. And again, Forge, I think, being the brightest of them all, from what we've seen, what we've heard, how they continue to push it, them allowing
Forge,
all these creators.
I don't even know if they realize what they may even have on hands with them with Forge, because what we've seen with the community and their creations now, once you get it out there to the mass public, right? If they foster that environment properly and really make it truly accessible for everybody to really see all these creations and get games going within all these creations, then they could be onto something that's in another level, because you're talking about something you can make all these different games within a game. Right. And you look at examples of where that's been successful before, like with things like Roblox and Fortnite. And again, I'm comparing those games for the mere example of the amount of content that people access within them, not the type of games that they're playing. Right. But you can go into Roblox, right, or Fortnite, and they have these creative modes and stuff. And if you go on there, there's like basically it's all player created content. And it's all these different things where, like Fortnite, you can go and play an Among Us clone in Fortnite, right? Or you can go and play different game modes from that's like, oh, they built another game within this game. And all these kids are playing these games, get really into these things. Minecraft is an example. Minecraft has a lot of that as well. but this could be that like hardcore game experience where we see that,
Right.
where we see a game like a Halo take that and give the power to the players to create really cool stuff for people like us, right? People like us that mess with the Forge a lot and make stuff are going to make clones of different things out there that we're like, whoa, what? Because we saw that Star Wars stuff and we've seen these other things. And if they really embrace and foster that environment as much as they should, then they could have something way beyond anything we've seen from Halo with Forge mode before. And any first party game really that I can think of for player created content, where it becomes a whole hub of a game within itself. Right. And it has a lot of potential there. I hope that they see it. I think they're excited about it from what they saw. And that's why I said the silver lining is because I think that over anything else could potentially be the savior for Halo. But maybe not until March when that custom game browser comes out.
Right. That's going to make a big, giant difference when they get the custom browser out. Because we need to be able to search and find things that are created easily.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and if I am only able to play it with my friends and make a custom app, and that's going to dampen the whole thing. Now, if you can search for these games or they get put in some kind of rotation for matchmaking, then it's on another level, right? If they do it properly.
Yep. So yeah, gotta cross our fingers. Hope they do it the right way. Again, all sounds good right now. So I think there is just a lot to look forward to. It's just, again, just wait longer. Unfortunately, that's kind of been the thing with Xbox is just wait longer. But we're getting through this, and again, time flies by. Man, it was just the spring when we were looking forward to E3, and the next thing you know, now it's September 1st already, man. So we're gonna fly through this. We've got so much to play. It is the golden age of gaming. There's so much out there right now, and again, I know the big games. People want them, and I understand completely, but it's not like we're lacking. This is not back in the day where we were just waiting, around for that next big game because, my God, we had nothing else to play. It's not like that anymore. Yeah. So that's the nice part right now.
Yeah, and in fact, if you have PS Plus Extra, you can play Deathloop on September 20th.
yeah. I was just gonna say we got some other topics to hop into here. Real quick.
Let me get to the super chat real quick. Also, I saw this earlier from Jigga J. Shout out to Jigga J with a $5 super chat, dude. Appreciate you. He said, I'd buy a F the CMA t-shirt from you and a Charge Them More t-shirt from Everborn. Right on, dude.
Yep. Right on.
F the CMA.
and Jigga J it gave a football reference to 343. He called him the Jay Cutler of Microsoft Studios.
Oh, man. Is it?
Wow. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Is 343 smoking while they're developing games? Because,
I don't know. But Jay Cutler was also kind of known as being an asshole too. So that's the one thing that doesn't fit with 343. Maybe Rex Grossman.
Until he got onto the reality show, and then everybody found out that he was kind of a nice guy. So,
was he?
What's her face?
He was known for being an asshole on the practice field. I know that for a fact.
On the practice field. Yeah. Jay was something else. So I always liked Jay.
Yeah. He was a character.
And then Nick said that they should give Halo to Kojima-san. Can you imagine a Kojima Halo?
Halo Stranding.
We'd finally have our Halo movie. Let's put it that way. We'd finally have the Halo movie if we gave it to Kojima because it'd be like 4 hours of cutscenes.
I'd watch it.
So, yeah, I know you would.
That would be like dude. I'm not gonna lie. Right now, if you told me that Kojima was to make some kind of cinematic Halo experience, I'd be all for that shit. That could be amazing. Have y'all seen the cutscenes of Death Stranding? Yeah. My God, those are gorgeous. I would rather watch that than the Halo TV show. And I like that. I'm one that actually likes the Halo TV show. But I could imagine what he would do with those Spartans on a Halo ring. How beautiful that could be. Oh my dude, let's go. Can
you imagine how many weird characters he'd be able to create with grunts and stuff? We'd have all this randomness.
It'd be a whole different side story of like this grunt family and stuff, and their traversal through time and space.
Oh my God. Awesome ideas. Thanks, chat. That was amazing. Appreciate all of you for still being here. So yeah, man, we got some smaller topics. Let's try to lighten the mood here a little bit. Unfortunately, this one is kind of like a head scratcher. So this is just more, let's speculate a little bit here. So as Matt pointed out, This week, it got finally pushed what the new PlayStation Premium games were going to be. And it was let's see, PlayStation Plus September games: Need for Speed Heat, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and Toem. And then the PlayStation Plus. This is so confusing, dude. Sony, please clean this up. You guys got to come up with a better system. This is always, whenever I read this stuff, I'm like, wait, what? What level? Okay, PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium are getting new games as well in September. Deathloop, Assassin's Creed Origins, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Rayman Legends, and more. And then PS Plus Classics to be added in September. Siphon Filter 2, freaking amazing. The Sly Cooper Collection, freaking amazing. Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, freaking amazing. Bentley's Hack Pack, which I have no idea. Toy Story 3, never played it. And Kingdom of Paradise from PSP. Toy Story 3 was also from PSP. So a very good lineup, but this head scratcher, man. Deathloop. So obviously we know the whole story. You don't have to give the background. We could sit here and laugh. Hey, it's a Microsoft first party game. You could drop it into PlayStation Premium. Obviously, we know the whole drill. It was already in development prior to the acquisition. But Deathloop was expected to be able to be talked about in September, Matt. The idea is that if it was a year timed exclusive, and again, I'm on record as saying, don't hold your breath. It could be longer, but we'll find out shortly because that expires September the 15th, I believe, this month. If that was a year timed exclusive, that Microsoft would finally be able to come out and talk about Deathloop for the Xbox ecosystem. And they would finally be able to announce something, and maybe this was going to be, a nice surprise, September, October, whatever the case may be. And yet here it is showing up into the PlayStation Premium subscription service. Mav, thoughts on Deathloop showing up there and us still in limbo on the Xbox side?
It was just surprising. I mean, it's not necessarily that surprised, but I was interested that we found that out before we ever have any kind of knowledge on like when this deal's done and we get the game on Xbox as well. I own the game on PS5. I bought it. Like, it's a great game. So this is not necessarily something that's like, oh, this blah, blah, blah sucks. But again, we alluded to the whole transparency scenario before with these timed exclusives and things like that. And this is really where it has an impact because we're kind of left scratching our heads on Deathloop. And, it's awesome for people that have PS Plus Extra. That's the highlight for the month for them because honestly, the rest of the lineup, there's nothing new, period, in there at all. And where Deathloop is I think the newest game, it's a year old, right? So again, not enough value for me to stay with that service. I actually did decide to just go back to Essentials for now until they start putting newer games into the service. Again, I got my some value with Stray, right, and stuff like that, but that's not a consistent thing. Like they're doing on Xbox, it's not enough for me, right? So I have some major criticism for PS Plus Extra and Premium right now.
Oh, hell yeah.
It is just not worth it to me for gamers that are already been invested into that ecosystem, right? If you come in from point blank and you have not played a PlayStation game in years, there's a lot there to play, right? And you can use it to get caught up on things. But they already are giving a lot of that to you with the PS Plus collection, which they give for you in Essentials anyway. With that one, if you get a PS5, they're giving you that dump of games, right? So that whole thing's a good value. But when you get into the extra and the premium stuff, there's just not a lot there that's worth staying subscribed to a service for me right now. When you compare it to the competition. And again, like this goes into the whole argument with the regulators and all these kind of things, like Xbox is providing more value and then PlayStation is, and Xbox is the one getting, seems like, punished. It just so doesn't make any sense or whatever. But besides that, Deathloop coming to PS Plus Extra, really cool for those that haven't gotten to play it yet. But it does beg me to question, with this exclusivity deal, is this part of that thing that happened with the Capcom leak on that leaked document between Capcom and the marketing rights that they had for Resident Evil between Capcom and Sony, where they had first refusal rights on getting that game into PS Plus, into their subscription service. And if that's the case, and this game is in there now, how many more months or whatever before we potentially see that game come into Game Pass and to come into Xbox? Because it's in a year without a lot of first party content for Xbox, this holiday season could use a little bit of a lift, right? And a good way of doing that is a quality game like a Deathloop that's made by an Xbox first party game finally making its way over to the platform. And maybe they just can't say anything about it right now until the 15th. And maybe that's why PlayStation already got ahead with this announcement. But I don't know. It just, does them being in PS Plus preclude them from being in Game Pass? And that's my question. And I wish there's more transparency on things like that right now. And Sony is doing everything they can to still associate that game right now with them, making it the headline also for their month, where that's the biggest thing. And also the other question I have is, was it part of the original agreement? It could have been, because this contract was different than just marketing rights, right? Yeah. So it could have been part of the original agreement, and maybe did it get extended, or who knows, man? There's a lot of questions that we have here, and I wish there was more transparency. But the other issue I had was not just that fact of that, but the journalists out there and people in the community using it as a way to bash Xbox and promote the fact of their games being more expensive on the platform and stuff, as a way of like, we got bangers, 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 and it's worth it. I'm willing to pay whatever. Is pretty much the messaging that got out there, while talking about a game coming to PS Plus Extra, not Xbox. And this is people like that are journalists that have covered games for people like Bloomberg and things like that. And it's just, it goes into this whole thinking again, like this messaging isn't going to die. Part of it's Xbox's fault for giving them the ammunition that they've had all this time, leading up to this point still, where 2022 is barren. A lot of it's not their fault, where they had a lot of things against them, with COVID and a war breaking out as well, and things like that happening. Games that were third-party deals got delayed as well. It's not just their own first-party studios. So 2022 ended up being a big L, and it just feel like it's kind of shitty for journalist-type people to take that stance and rub dirt in people's faces and promote more expensive games as a feature of a platform, which makes it better.
It's of journalism.
Yes, it sure is, man. It was very it kind of got triggered. I got triggered a little bit yesterday just reading some of this stuff on Twitter. So, but yeah, as far as that goes, I have a lot of questions. What do you make of it, Pong? Like, what is the status of Deathloop?
We're just in this weird. Again, this is why I said, if I was Phil, I'd be much more cutthroat. I would have paid my way out of these. I would have shredded those contracts and paid my way out, because now you get these weird scenarios. Do
you think that would look bad to the regulators looking over all this stuff now?
It probably would have short-sightedness on my part, because again, that's what you get when you're cutthroat. You don't think that far in advance. And yes,
you deal with the problem one step at a time. Yeah.
Right. I saw that point being made, and of course, when I sit and think about it, yes, of course, again, it's going to go against everything that Microsoft is preaching right now, which is in fact not just for us gamers. They're not doing this just for us gamers. They're doing this for the long haul in their future plans, and that involves regulatory bodies across the entire globe, and they're trying to be the good guys for once. Again, Microsoft went through a period of time in the 80s and 90s where they were the bullies. Now, they are still trying to bully. I say that. They're using their money. They're swinging some big balls around right now, okay? They're still doing what they do, but they're trying to do it with a smile.
It can also be used against them and these regulators from people like Sony being like, look, they even canceled our contracts. What are they going to do with the Activision Blizzard contracts? What are they going to do with the marketing rights on Call of Duty's contract? Like, and they can't give ammunition to people right now, right?
Right, exactly. And so, you know, from my standpoint, we just wind up in these weird scenarios right now because of the contracts. Xbox is not allowed to talk to their own gamers about a
Yeah.
first party IP now that they own. Like it's just it's strange, but this is 2022, so whatever. Listen, Phil, if you're watching this show later, if one of your people are watching this show, if the contract is a 1-year contract and it ends on September 15th, my God, please come out with an Xbox wire detailing, being extremely transparent. If you are allowed to talk about this after this year expiration on September 15th, that day, that morning, be out here telling your community what the hell is going on and when we can expect to see this showing up on Xbox. Please do that. I don't care, whatever the case may be, whatever you got to do, if it really is ending, don't wait. Don't sit on this. Don't let September run through with not a single comment. If the year exclusivity is actually up. If there was an extension, obviously he's not going to be able to talk about it. But if we don't hear something in September, I 100% believe there's more to this than we know about, and that there was an extension, or it was longer than a year, or the fact that it is in PlayStation subscription service now does mean that we have to wait longer. So I'm fully expecting Xbox to come out this month and explain the situation and tell us when we can expect it. And my God, please, if it can drop day one on September 15th, please drop it day one on September 15th. It's a Thursday. I don't care. Drop it in there. Because, again, we need to get out of these weird scenarios here. We're going to have another one come up with Ghostwire Tokyo. We're going to have another one of these situations come up then. But please get this Deathloop out. I want to play it. Again, don't have PS5. I want to play Deathloop. So please get it out. But I just think that they need to be crystal clear about this. Again, like I said, I would not hold my breath, because we have known that around the same time that the acquisition was going through and the deals for these games were signed was when Sony was kind of starting to push 2-year contract deals. Okay, so could this be one that falls within that? Yes, it could. Now, I hate to see that. That's going to get real weird, but it could certainly possibly be the case, because we know that they were pushing for Starfield for 2 years. Okay, that's a known detail now, that Sony was trying to lock that down for 2 years. So I just hope that's not the case. I want to see Deathloop on the system. It'll be a nice surprise. I know it's not a game for everybody. There's plenty of people that tried it on PlayStation, like yourself. There's plenty of people out there who just don't have an interest in Deathloop, but I want to play it. And I think it's actually got a chance at a real big second life on Xbox because of the online functionality, because of the invasion stuff. We just saw this in Sniper Elite. When Sniper Elite first dropped, man, I was getting invaded literally there was one game where I got invaded like once every 2 minutes. Okay. Mm-hmm. So obviously we know that so many more people are online experiencing multiplayer games on Xbox side of things than on PlayStation. So I think the Deathloop mechanic there definitely could be really cool on Xbox. Yeah. So
also, I want to check it out. It's a pretty big, notable title, right? And when it's on PS Plus Extra, it's going to get access to maybe like 3+ million users. But when it's on Game Pass, you're talking about 30 million type, right? Around that number of users are going to be able to download and play that on not just an Xbox, but also on the cloud and wherever, right? So I think that numbers could jump through the roof for that game. And I think you're going to see a lot of appreciation for that game once it hits in that ecosystem. It'll do wonders for it. I hate timed exclusive deals, man.
Yeah, so do I. And I think Arcane deserves it too. Arcane, is one of my favorite studios, and they deserve it. They deserve that to see a bigger audience as well. So 100%. But I hate timed exclusivity deals for this reason. That's why I was talking about. I might hit Hogue up and ask him a couple questions, because I think at some point, again, the secrecy of this industry is just stupid. Okay, movies don't have this, books don't have this. We know who's working on what. We know how much they get paid. We know how much they made at the box office. We know when they're coming to services. We know what services they're coming to. We know everything up front. This is the only entertainment industry that's like this. Like I said, even the sports industry, we know people's personal contracts. We know their financial details. Like this place, again, top secret, world impacting nuclear type secrets from the gaming industry for some reason. I don't get it. I don't understand. It's not good for the consumers. I hate it. I hate it. Yeah. Math. So, But yeah, hopefully this will get cleared up this month and we can be done with this. And I'd love to see Deathloop. And like you said, it is a big title. And we've also heard, that with Deathloop, the Xbox version is going to have all the bells and whistles, that they are going to use a lot of the RDNA 2 features that we've discussed, that we talked about all this entire time, that they're going to put a lot of that dev work, that they are putting a lot of that dev work into the Deathloop version for Xbox. And so it's going to be the premium experience, the ultimate experience for Xbox. So if that's the case, I'm really excited because I can't wait to see what they can do for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, Mav. Let's see. We got a couple more small topics here. Let's get in some fun stuff as well here. Hey, Assassin's Creed, Mav. The one that we've had rumors running around for a long time has been confirmed. And Ubisoft is going to talk about it on September 10th. But before Ubisoft made that announcement, there was, and for anybody who doesn't know, this is the Assassin's Creed Mirage. This is the single player. This isn't going to be the open world one, the big expansive multiplayer kind of game that they've also are in currently making. This is actually the single player one. So it's called Assassin's Creed Mirage. This is the one where we had rumors that it was set in like the Middle East, like Iran. And we got more details this week before Ubisoft confirmed things. And Jason Schreier actually on one of the rumor posts said that he spoke to his own source. I know everybody's favorite Jason Schreier, but he does know people, so whatever. He posted that some of the list I'm about to read was confirmed by his source as being true. So take some of this stuff with a grain of salt, but he said that there was some stuff in here that was confirmed. So the final name should be Assassin's Creed Mirage. It will be released in spring of 2023 between April and June. The game will take place between 860 and 870 in Baghdad during the anarchy in Samarra. We will play Basim in his youth as a thief until he arrives at the Hidden Ones. Multiple cities to explore, separated by desert and rivers like the Kingdom of AC1. The game will be returning to basics with strong inspiration from the first Assassin's Creed. Mav, I got goosebumps, brother.
Yeah.
I got goosebumps right now. Several RPG elements removed. No more dialogue choices, no gender choice, and no more level system. Yo, we are going really far back. So AC1 style here. The gameplay will be slightly different from that of Valhalla, less raw and with new animations. The Eagle Vision is back, but so is the Drone Bird. Basim will be able to use the String Dagger to eliminate his opponents. There will be visions of Loki for how Loki manifested into Basim's body and consumed him. Ubisoft is secretly also preparing the remake of AC1 based on Rift Mirage's work. They will reuse a large part of the assets. The AC1 remake should be integrated into a season pass, which will also include DLC in Constantinople when Basim meets Sigurd. It will all be released in a few months later. And then, of course, they also went on to say Ubisoft will unveil the future of Assassin's Creed on September 10th at Ubisoft Forward, which was confirmed by Ubisoft officially today. Mav, listen, you and me, we're old school Assassin's Creed fans.
Yeah.
I like Valhalla. I got to get back to it at some point. Put a lot of hours into Odyssey. Still haven't finished it. You guys know me. I don't finish games very often, but Assassin's Creed especially. But the original Assassin's Creed, I was finishing Assassin's Creed. I love AC1 and 2 for sure. Look, when they start talking about going back to the basics, when they start talking about remaking Assassin's Creed 1, how excited are you right now, Matt, for this?
Well, I am extremely excited. I freaking absolutely love what I'm hearing from this. It reminds me of the words that we read when we saw them talking about the Splinter Cell remake, right?
Nope.
Going back to the roots of what makes it Splinter Cell, right? And all of that stuff. I think that, Assassin's Creed Mirage sounds like a re-envisioning of the original roots of the franchise with bringing that back, and that's why they're able to look at that and be like, okay, this would work for Assassin's Creed 1 remake as well, because like Assassin's Creed from 1 to 2 took a big leap. I'm not going to say that Assassin's Creed 2 wasn't better than 1 in a lot of ways, right? But Assassin's Creed 1, just at the core, was that stealth assassin experience with an amazing story, right? And for me, that's what it was all about. And then taking that into this new game where we're getting this new gameplay experience. It's going to take all of the new world things in gaming and bring it back to the core roots of what Assassin's Creed was. Because to me, Assassin's Creed is like two different franchises, right? There's Assassin's Creed 1 through 3, and then Black Flag was like in the middle, right? And then after Black Flag, they kind of had some other like experimental things, and they were like kind of tip and toe between the two worlds. And then once Origins came out, Assassin's Creed became a whole different thing, right? So there was Assassin's Creed 1 through 3, then there was a limbo period, and then there's the new Assassin's Creed where you got Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, right? All those expansions and all those games. Those are not, for me, pure Assassin's Creed games. I think they could be completely a different franchise. But obviously it has the name Assassin's Creed, obviously for a lot of reasons, right? For sales and marketing, and also for, I mean, it works with some of the things that they're doing there, but it could have been a whole spinoff called Fantasy Explorer or World Explorer or whatever. It's just like they take a hero, put them in a different time and place in history, and that's the game, right? And that's kind of what it's all about. Now, they had to have the Assassins Templars things, but you can replace those with anything, right? And it's still pretty much for the most part be the same experience. Now, the original Assassin's Creed games really got deep into the origins of the assassins and the Brotherhood, and like going into like developing like what that was, and the versus the Templars, and that whole story, and really evolving that. And what you had the modern day elements get mixed in there as well, and to really what that was all about with the Animus. And there were so many fascinating things that they kind of just like abandoned with Assassin's Creed, and this gives me the hope that maybe we could see a resurgence with some of that a little bit. I don't think we're gonna get as full on like back into that as I want, but at least the gameplay style, the stealth elements there being less open world hack and slashy, right? Seems like it's going to be more what this is about. And I'm pumped for that, dude, because those original first couple of Assassin's Creed games were special with those regards, Yeah. And my favorite is Altair, right? Always and forever. I think he is the best character in Assassin's Creed history. I like Ezio as well a lot. I thought he was a fantastic character. He also got all those expansions and stuff as well, so he got more fleshed out. They gave him much more of a story to tell, but there was always something about Altair that was like just such a fascinating, good character in those games, and I really want to go back to that and experience it. And I want to experience it in the best way possible. So the remake actually of that has me more excited than anything else, Pong, if that's true. Yes. However, the fact that they're still going back to those roots with this other game as well, Mirage, has me almost as excited as the possibility of that remake. So lots of good Assassin's Creed news right now. Seems like Ubisoft is heavy on the Assassin's Creed as they should be. They should be doing a lot of other things as well, right? But we're gonna find out more information. What is it, on the 20th or 5th? You 10th. Said the 10th. Oh, that's 10th. Only 9 days.
Yeah, and Nick's, they said like around March next year for a release date. So we'll find out more on September 10th.
Yeah, maybe I'll be able to co-stream that on the 10th.
Yeah. This is all good news, man. And if they're going to do this, is a fair. If Ubisoft wants to do this, like if they want to do a trade-off map, if they want to do their games as a service type Assassin's Creed, but at the same time they're also going to give us a single player Assassin's Creed, that's a fair trade to me. I'm cool with that. Mm-hmm. I'm totally cool with that. If they're going to go back to their roots with Assassin's Creed, because they're going to have this big, expanding Assassin's Creed world where you get to go to all the different locations, including Japan and all the stuff that we've wished for. And it's going to have some multiplayer and it's going to be monetized to all hell, as we know Ubisoft is going to do. They want to do that, but they're going to give me a single player. I'm cool with this new Ubisoft. If this is exactly how it's going to go down, if they're going to give me a single player experience with Splinter Cell remake or reboot, whatever you want to call it, and they're going to do that for me, and then they want to go ahead and have Sam Fisher and some freaking monetized multiplayer Rainbow Six spinoff, whatever they want to do, I'm cool. Ubisoft, keep doing this. We're good. We're good. If you're going to have this balance in your lineup, I am totally okay with all of this. Before we move on, hey, chat, listen, we love you all. I don't know what's going in there. I know we talked about 343, and that always brings out the best of everybody when we talk about Halo. But, we love you all, guys. And I don't know what was going on in there, but keep the personal stuff down and, whatever. You guys are all cool. You know that. I know most of you. I don't know what Fahim said to get Mav to get him out of here, but Fahim's been pretty cool.
He knows what he, I know for sure. Yeah, he knows what he was doing.
So he knows what he's doing. So, okay. All right. So whatever it is, come on, chat. You know where you're at, man. Come on. Let's keep it civil in here. Let's keep it fun. But don't get personal. All right. Whatever you guys do. No, this is exciting me, Mav. Again, I got goosebumps reading just through the details of this because I'm such a huge old Assassin's Creed fan. To hear this, and then with the remake supposedly of Assassin's Creed 1 on top of it, Altair coming back, dream come true, man. Like I said, Ubisoft, if this is your new model, if you guys have finally had some light switches turn on in that dark house of yours, and you guys finally figured this out, you want to balance everything between, whatever, games as a service, but you're still going to give us these single player games and let these devs go back, because we know, man, for a fact, for somebody who worked at Ubisoft, that there was huge portions of the dev teams that were fighting with management to try to get the old style made again. So if that's what they're finally allowing them to do, all for it 100%. Golden age of gaming is here, brother. We're doing good. We're doing good. So I'm really excited about this. Let's go to Speculation Town, Mav. Let's go to Speculation Town real quick. Something that flew under the radar today that I posted in our DMs from a little known, well, I shouldn't say a little known Twitter account. He's got about 30,000 followers. It's not little known, but not too many people tweet his stuff out. It's called, he's called Ralph's Valve. And he tweeted out something interesting today. We're going to go back to Activision Blizzard here, folks. Now listen up. This could be super cool. This could be a part of what the roadmap was that Phil and the team saw when they started the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Because we know Phil came out and said, look, I've seen what they're working on, and I'm excited, right? So that was part of his talk. Well, this Ralph's Valve, for anybody who doesn't know, you can go follow him on Twitter. He's heavy into the Call of Duty scene, and he seems to have some good connections. He calls himself a journalist, and he's based out of London, okay? And he seems to have some knowledge about what's happening on the inside of Activision side of things, especially when it comes to Call of Duty. Well, he put out an interesting tweet today. It's a little segmented, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but if you kind of follow along here, you'll get it. He put out the date 2024. And then he put Infinity Ward's Austin, Texas division are heading the project with former BioWare employees driving its creative vision. Infinity Ward plus BioWare. Okay? Since they're split from Bungie, Activision has been wanting stake back into the RPG MMO market. And then he did a follow-up tweet to clarify, and he said FPS RPG market. Go to Speculation Town, Mav. And they are missing Destiny. Do we have a Destiny killer in the making here, or an attempt Destiny killer?
The fact that it's an Infinity Ward team,
right,
means it's like top tier type shooter dev talent.
Yes. Yes.
Former BioWare people that have a lot of RPG experience.
Sci-fi side of things, Anthem.
I think they like that
Effect.
Destiny money coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I think they missed that a little bit, right? And
sure.
I feel like they might want to think. Well, now you look even further into this, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
Bungie now is owned by PlayStation. That's Sony. Activision Blizzard will be owned by Xbox. Xbox already has Halo, but Halo's not the same thing as like a Destiny game, right? It's not like this big
it's not
like
FPS,
RPG thing, right? So you look at the potential here. Now Activision also has experience now with this as well, right? They kind of saw things and know how it kind of functioned, operated, and not to say not necessarily that they didn't need Bungie to do it. Obviously they did, but to go out there and take one of your top tier teams. And now I don't. Where did this rumor source from? Was that
his source? His sources within Activision. So he gets Call of Duty information quite frequently on Steam.
And it's usually accurate, so it seems like it's pretty legit, right? So
it seems pretty legit. Yeah.
With that, and a grain of salt, obviously, with this is still, it seems like Xbox could have a huge game on their hands in the future, because this would be a new IP. And it won't be coming out until after this acquisition is done as well.
Correct.
Which would be a new IP, first party Destiny type game coming from one of the top tier dev talents in the world. So we already talked about what would they be doing besides COD, right? With a lot of these studios. And we assumed Infinity Ward is just going to be COD, right? So we had to just check that off. Okay, they'll be the ones, at least, that, no matter what else, they'll be the ones that are only going to be doing COD, at least, right? Now you see them potentially, again, Grain of Salt, working on a big fantasy RPG shooter type game. I'm all in on that shit. I'll tell you that right now. Like, if Infinity Ward can make a Destiny-like type game experience and put it out there with how talented they are with making good quality shooters, like, I could imagine that just in my brain right now, and I'm all in. I want to see it. They have a lot more experience with larger map areas, because they've experienced with Warzone type stuff and things like that. And there's elements supposedly coming in this Modern Warfare 2 that have some different stuff in it as well. I'm really curious potentially what they could do with this, dude, because that sounds absolutely fantastic. And you get with RPG stuff, you get BioWare people involved, and just adds to another check on that list. Question is when to expect it. 6-7 years potentially from now, like not any time close. I don't know.
He put the date 2024, so I don't know.
2024. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. He put 2024 as the date, so I don't know. That's when he's thinking they're going to announce it.
Right.
Because if they just started working on it, it would seem like that would be the natural progression, 2024 announcement.
Yeah.
Or what? But 2024 was the date, so we should hear something in a couple years here about this project. Again, my God. Former BioWare employees leading the creative vision with Infinity Ward's technical expertise, shooting expertise behind it into a first-person shooter RPG, like you just said, Map, all in on this. Like, this could be another big, giant thing coming out of Activision. And like you said, it's going to be well after the acquisition is complete. This could be brand new IP. This could be an Xbox ecosystem exclusive at that point. For PC, for Game Pass. Look, I'm all about it, man. When you sign me up, Infinity Ward plus BioWare, I'm in. So this could be something really fun, and I definitely think it'll lean towards the sci-fi side of things. They've seen internally, they've gotten to know Destiny from when Bungie was with them intimately. So they know what it's about. Infinity Ward's got the experience. BioWare's got the creative vision. Look, this could be a match made in heaven where we see something come out of it that is special, that could be the next big thing. Because as we talked about with Call of Duty, with Destiny, you just never know where the next big thing comes from. But this has the potential there, Mav. Oh, God, man. That really got me excited. I was thinking that was pretty cool today. So that's all good. I'm glad everybody's getting along in the chat. Thank you all for being, adults about the situation and everything. Appreciate you all, Fahim. Thank you for understanding, sir. All that good stuff. We got some super chats though, Mav, dropping in here as well. So Draw TJ dropping us to $10. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, and good to see you as always.
Oh, we missed one.
I got it.
Missed one.
Did I?
Yeah, there's a $5 one. Yeah, from John TJ.
Okay.
Actually, maybe before that, Alvin.
Oh, Alvin.
Yeah, Alvin with a $5 super chat.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Prey and 2 Fallout games are also in PS Plus. Bethesda likes sub services. I'm willing to bet money it hits Game Pass the same day or a couple days earlier. He's talking about obviously Deathloop. This is sorry, we're just getting to that now, Alvin. Appreciate the $5 super chat, and that is a good point. People have been pointing that out to me that because there's not a lot of times I don't notice games being launched at the same time on both services, right? Usually one will come later or before or after. Like Assassin's Creed Origins is just now coming to PS Plus. It already has been out on Game Pass. There's situations like that, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like I get that can happen as well. So maybe it's all's not lost there on the Deathloop front. And then also DRAWNTJ hit us with the $5 super chat. It says, "Hi guys, when do you think the deal will be done, and who do they get next?" Early 2023.
Yep, that's what we're both on now. Is early 2023. I think around the March area.
Yeah, I'm gonna say March, April, something like that. Probably
something like that.
My guess.
And who do they get next? Oh, he's asked us to go to speculation time. We talked about this a lot, DRAWNTJ. I'll go first and let Mav go. I've said from the get go. Well, they're gonna after this acquisition is done. They're going to announce some of the smaller deals that have been held up this entire time, like maybe an IO Interactive, possibly Avalanche. There's a couple studios that were rumored prior to this whole deal that kind of been in limbo. I think they announced the smaller studios. But if you're asking for big stuff, they go east. Okay, that's the next play. They're done with Western. You heard it in the Phil interview. If you watched the latest interview with him, he said that they've got plenty on this side. Not saying that they're completely done, but it'll probably be smaller stuff. But big stuff, they're going to make a big mark somewhere in the East. And I think that's either a Sega or somebody under the radar like a Bandai Namco or a Nexon, something like that. Sega obviously makes the most sense to me when I look at it, but they're going to go East with the next big acquisition. Go ahead, Matt. What's your guesses there?
I say they go East as well. Somebody in Korea as well, I think. I think that this whole, Japanese studio acquisition stuff, maybe it's harder. My heart wants to say Sega, right? Like if I could say like go big or go home on something, it would be Sega. They're getting really close. They have all this partnership stuff going. You're starting to see Sega games go into Game Pass more frequently and all those kind of situations. There's ties with some of the studios and Sega publishing their games before. Microsoft's actually pretty much rented studios from Sega before for development of some of their games as well, and getting Halo Wars and stuff like that out. I think it would be a match made in heaven. So my heart says Sega. Again, Bloomberg thinks that Sonic's already a Microsoft game. So, yes. But my mind tells me that they're going to go into these places where these dev studios are really starting to show off the future of gaming and stuff that we haven't seen. Like, who are these guys? How are they making this crazy stuff that looks so damn impressive and all these things? I think they could be potentially looking in these different markets for some growth there where, that these studios and stuff have not released stuff yet. They're not as big and stable yet. They're growing, right? So maybe they're looking for funding and they're looking for partners and stuff like that. It could be an opportunity there. Not just that part of the world, there's other parts of the world as well. You could see some of that. So it'd be interesting. I'm really curious what they're going to do, but I'm basically taking the cues from what Phil said in that Bloomberg interview as well with that. And there could already be stuff that there's working on behind the scenes that would make sense of what he said in that interview. Right. So
100%.
You want to get the $10 one from John TJ?
Yep. DRAWNTJ with the $10. Thank you, brother, being all generous this evening. Appreciate you. I got to ask you guys one thing. Do you think it's fair to blame all of first party because one studio messes up? I'm talking about for both Sony and Microsoft. I'm assuming this was during to the Halo talk and the 343 talk and obviously the discussion in the chat. So I'll take it from that angle, DRAWNTJ. No, of course not. You can't blame everybody for one studio's problem. Again, when there's a studio problem, you got to start with the management of that studio. Now, if you see problems in multiple studios, then yes, it still sticks with the heads of the studios and the management of those studios. But then if there's multiple problems, then you got to start looking even further up the chain at other management above them, going headed towards Phil's position, because then you got to wonder if there's some misdirection at the top that is leading to these studios having issues. So no, I don't think it's fair to blame all first party in either case, whether it's Sony or Microsoft, if one studio has issues. Of course not. Every studio, especially underneath Microsoft, as we know it, they're all running independently. Like they're their own bosses. Like Microsoft is just there to help them. And sometimes that can cause its own problems because sometimes certain studios need more micromanagement versus the hands-off approach. And that's what I've always said, is that Phil and his team, along with Matt Booty, have to find that balance. Which teams need the micromanaging and the pushes, to hey guys, this is great. You guys are really creative over here, but what do you got? Like, what are you doing? Like, what is your? Some studios need that. I think Rare is in that position. I think Rare needs some more oversight to what they do because they have so much creative freedom and they're such a talent over there. But it seems like they kind of have a problem not getting stuff down and kind of figuring out exactly what type of game they're making. So I could see that in that situation. But no, blaming all first-party studios just because one studio has problems, no, definitely not fair in any way, shape, or form. Right, Mav? You agree?
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
And one studio doesn't have the example for the entire company. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying too. DRAWNTJ with another $5. Maybe Infinity Ward goes and helps mold Halo into a finished product. God help us. Look, no, 343 is going to figure it out. I don't think they're going to need Infinity Ward to help mold Halo. I think that Infinity Ward's expertise is what 343 does well, like in the gunplay, map design. I think all of that stuff is still within 343's bag. I mean, I think they still do an awesome job. Mav, I'll lean on you because it's a Halo question, but what do you think there, brother?
Certain Affinity.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already doing it. They're already working with them a lot. That out of any of the studios out there, that makes the most sense for like a organic type acquisition, right? It's like almost like they're a first party studio without being one anyway. You know what I mean? They are doing their own projects with some other things, and there's some things that they're working on that I'm not a huge fan of. Certain Affinity is doing these blockchain type experiences on their own as well, but they are also supposedly already working on a big project with Microsoft in this Monster Hunter type clone game. And then they're also working with Microsoft as well and Xbox supposedly on that Tatanka mode, the Battle Royale Halo game as well, and potentially or mode, and then also supporting and help work on multiplayer on Halo Infinite. So there's already ties there. They have worked on Call of Duty in the past. They've worked on other franchises that Microsoft owns. They've worked on Doom in the past with Doom multiplayer. They just have so many ties to so many different studios and connections there, and that's pretty much what they've done in the past is hey, we're the guys you go to make multiplayer stuff for your game, right?
Yep.
And Microsoft has ties to them ever since Mac Holberman started that studio when he left Bungie back in the Halo 3 era, or whenever that was, and they brought them on and started doing map and some content for Halo games, right?
Yep.
And the ties are so deep with Certain Affinity that it just seems like it makes sense if there's any possibility to it. I don't know if that's what Certain Affinity wants necessarily, because they also are doing this NFT stuff as well, and maybe they think they have a future with that. I don't know exactly, but if I was Microsoft, that's one thing I would pull the trigger on locally in a studio that's in a normal region that they're used to operating in as well. But that's all they need. Certain Affinity can do a lot more for them than I think any other teams can. Although I would say that also, I don't want Infinity, if they make the acquisition, if the acquisition goes through, I don't want Infinity Ward, who is only used to working with their engines and their stuff, to be coming over trying to learn the Halo stuff, right? I would rather, maybe you can have some spin-off type stuff in the future, collaborations and things like that, interesting things, like hey, put Master Chief as like a armor in a freaking Call of Duty game, or right, or you have some interesting stuff that you do with content and things like that, so crossover things. And I think there's potential with that across Xbox's lineup, period, because so many great franchises and IPs, especially when you add Bethesda and ZeniMax and then Activision Blizzard in the works. You're gonna be able to do so many crazy things. But I don't necessarily want those studios who are great at doing one thing to go make the other. Just, you know what I mean? So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he follows up with another $20 super chat. John TJ, thank you, brother. And he said, think about it. Certain Affinity and Infinity Ward work together to finish multiplayer for Halo Infinite. Mavi, I think you that broke down that down.
Yeah, I didn't even see that.
Certain Affinity.
Yeah,
you didn't even see that. Yeah, Certain Affinity is definitely one that we both talked about. And if they get this Activision Blizzard deal, it makes all the sense in the world. They're already a support studio for Call of Duty, on top of being a support studio for Halo, on top of making a AAA game, supposedly Monster Hunter style, like Mav said, for Microsoft. So yeah, that's as organic as you can get. Like, that's the whole basis of what they do. They would be the ultimate studio, especially under Xbox, that would allow them to grow, do big their own IP if they're actually working on something new, which again, we've heard they have, and on top of it be a support studio. That's like the ultimate studio for what Xbox needs right now. Like, perfect fit. So yeah, no, that'd be great. Certain Affinity is definitely high on the list. $2 super chat from Victor Allenstein. Good to see you, brother. Says, I'm a little late, but great show. No, thank you for being here, man. Again, whenever you show up, doesn't matter. We appreciate you, and nothing but respect, man. Thank you for the super chat. Shout out to you for sure. Victor Alstein says, Ponxol, do you know Kingdom Under Fire? Yes, sir. I do know Kingdom Under Fire. I actually repicked it up for the 360, and I started playing it again about 5 months ago. So yes, Kingdom Under Fire was awesome. It was more well-known on the PC side of things, but it did have its run on 360 on the console.
A fantasy action game with like, they had like the flame, like ball and chain type weapons and stuff like that. Yeah,
they had tons of
that was a badass game.
It was a
co-op too, didn't it?
Yeah, it had co-op as well. Yep.
I remember Kingdom Under Fire.
Hell yeah, of course. So let's end on a couple small topics here, Mav. A couple more small ones here. I know you want to talk about Gotham Knights. Now, I didn't get to watch this whole thing. I saw the tweet, so I know it was about the co-op, funny enough, that we were just talking about with Halo Infinite. Gotham Knights has co-op, and it's going to launch with co-op, and it's going to be untethered co-op. Fill in the details for me here, Mav. What's going on with Gotham Knights?
Everything
and there was an IGN blowout, too.
Yeah, I would recommend anybody watch the IGN stuff actually on this, because it's like a pretty in-depth, and the reason I wanted to share it with you, Pong, is because anytime you say, hey, this is what co-op should be, that's what this is, right? So one thing is, you can go you're not tethered whatsoever. One person can be completely on the other side of the world doing their own thing, and everything will scale accordingly based on the player, right? Kind of like there's some other co-op games like Borderlands and stuff that do stuff like that as well, right? So everything is scaled accordingly. When you're fighting, you do stuff accordingly to you and your player, right? And then the other thing is, like, you can go be doing your own mission and stuff, and then let's say like we're playing together, Pong. Like I'm in a fight doing my missions. You're going over there doing your stuff. You can like come over and be like, just join in the fight randomly, and be like, okay, it's like it allows for this like cool superhero random like events to happen almost, you know. But the other cool thing is, you remember how you say like in these games, like, oh, let's say we do a couple missions together, right? And then you go in your game, you have to like redo them. They're giving you the option in this. So when you get to that point, like in the game where you did missions in my game, right?
Yep.
It'll give you the option. It'll pop up on the screen. It'll say, it'll allow you to skip it or not.
Exactly what I asked Redfall devs to.
Exactly.
Arcane.
That's why I sent it to you.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay.
So untethered to go anywhere you want, plus the option to skip stuff you've already completed, right? Exactly. It was almost exactly what you explained that you wanted them to do in these games. The other aspect they broke down in the IGN videos is kind of how the world works with the co-op, because like whenever you're out in the world, it's like nighttime, right?
Right.
And then when you're done with your missions, what you can do as many as you want. You can stay out there as long as you want. But when you feel like you've accomplished everything that you want to accomplish, which there's a certain amount of things you probably need to accomplish, right? But then there's more you can do. When you've accomplished everything you feel like you need to accomplish, you go back to the belfry. Then it becomes daytime, and then you kind of like mess with your characters or do whatever you do, right? And then that's when you go back into the world and stuff, and it's nighttime again. I just feel like they kind of captured this essence of being like a cape superhero Batman type figure, you know, like one of the Gotham Knights. Like the more I see about it, the more I get hyped, and I've seen a lot of people making comments that have actually watched these more in depth videos now coming from IGN and stuff, because they have that a whole deal there with the extra breakdowns and stuff. That they're starting to get excited for this game, where they had been picking apart the short gameplay videos and stuff before.
Yeah.
So, you know, ever since Starfield got delayed, this has been my number one game on my list this holiday. I've been excited for it ever since it was announced, obviously, because I love the Arkham games. I really want the freaking Arkham games to get a next gen update, please. It's not
Fahim. The videos on IGN. There is one. So they did a rundown on Gotham Knights.
Yeah, they need to update this freaking classic game. Some of the best superhero games, some of the games that spawned off this whole generation now, where we have this whole superhero craze now going with gaming, and all these different licensed IPs treated respectfully and good, right? For me, Arkham Asylum was the start of that, right? Where we finally got good quality, high quality licensed games, and Rocksteady started that trend, right? And Arkham's been such a great series, and this for me it looks like an Arkham game, right? Obviously made by WB Montreal, not Rocksteady, but it has that feel for me entirely all the way through. I really want the original series to get that update, because I feel like there's a whole wave of gamers that would experience it for the first time again and really get to play it at full fidelity and stuff. It just holds up so well. But the only thing is the blurriness, and the frame rate is just not there. So if you could just bring it, please, with some kind of updates. Maybe they're not going to, because, you know, WB has a lot of issues right now, right? Obviously. But this game has a lot of promise to it. And I want to see this game be good. First off, it's got to be good. It's got to launch without a lot of problems and stuff. But then if it is good, I want to see it succeed, right? Because guess what? We need more games this holiday that are going to be high, big budget quality titles, right? And I feel like this is one I want to play with a lot of people. I want to experience with a lot of people. I want to be playing the shit out of Gotham Knights come October, guys. So check out those videos if you haven't seen it, because it adds a lot more. There's a lot more to this game than what it seems at first glance, right? So anyway.
Yeah, 100%. And again, it's still not something I'm going to pick up day one. I'm not going to budget it in. It's just, but I will say, the more that they've shown compared to the first showings they had, the better that game has started to look. 100%. And again, it's if Harley was a playable character, I mean, it was cool that she's going to be one of the enemies and one of the bosses. That's cool. Like, that got me. But if she was a playable character, I'd be in on this one for sure. But I am happy for all the Gotham Knights fans, and I'm happy for all the people waiting on this, because it is going to be a big holiday game, especially with all the other games that have moved out. Gotham Knights still coming out this year is going to be big for WB, and if it does hit right, they're going to automatically probably have big sales, no matter what, just because there's not a whole lot else to get there. But it is a Gotham game through and through. It looks like it, and it looks super cool, and the co-op is definitely looking good for sure. Matt Booty had an interview today.
Yes.
With Major Nelson, the one and only Major Nelson.
Yeah, that was his podcast as a guest on his show, right?
Yeah, guest on his show today. First time ever on the Major Nelson show. They've never been able to get the timing right.
Yeah.
So, but he dropped some interesting information today, like some really cool information, actually, in one case. So they were kind of running through what's been going on over there, and Booty was being his normal, really nice guy self, as he always is. Booty is definitely a nice guy, and he dropped some nuggets, Mav. So
booty nuggets,
the booty nuggets. Yeah, he dropped some nuggets, not in the toilet. So let's see here. He talked about the big one that he talked about. Now he ran through the list of all the new games he's seen. He's seen an Exiles game. He's checked out Fables, Progression, went through the whole list, but then he got to State of Decay 3, man. And first he talked about that State of Decay 2 just hit over 11 million users, which is really great. State of Decay 2 is a completely different game than it launched with. And they continue to do updates. It's a testing ground for a lot of State of Decay 3 stuff. So they implement stuff into State of Decay 2. And man, it's a great game. I highly recommend anybody go back and play that now. But after that, he just offhandedly kind of mentioned that, oh, by the way, the coalition has been working with the team to implement things from Gears of War into State of Decay 3.
Yeah, Unreal 5 stuff, which remember we know that Unreal what they formed like this other support studio to help with Unreal technology, and then we're going to be working with Undead Labs. I think this is part of what's going on there, you know what I mean, with the coalition as well.
How excited were you to hear this, Mav? Coalition helping out Undead Labs to get up to speed and implement some of the stuff that we've seen and Gears coming over to State of Decay 3. It sounds like State of Decay 3, that trailer that we saw where people were like, well, this is great, but it's CGI. What are you guys doing? Is aiming for a much
bigger scope, grander type game.
Bigger scope, yes. Is that what you get out of this too, man?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that one thing we always alluded to with all these acquisitions and things like that they're doing, that the studios are going to be able to share technology and help. You know, we've already seen Coalition has been talked about. They've helped on different projects now for a while, but it seems like they're like an ace in the hole for Microsoft when it comes to tech. Yeah. And it's like somebody that they have that people can really go to for the Unreal. And I think Undead really wants to make a great impression with their next project. And State of Decay 3 is going to be a big deal for them. Remember, we got the reveal for that, was it 2019? Yeah, 2019. Or so, and we haven't heard anything since. So we know the game's been in development for a while. Meanwhile, this team still manages to keep putting out amazing updates and content into State of Decay 2, growing the user base. Who would have thought State of Decay be a top pillar franchise for Microsoft and Xbox? When you cross the 11-player mark, that becomes that. I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care if it launched janky as hell, all that stuff, right? At some point, they've gotten it to the point now this game has become a tentpole franchise now for Microsoft.
Yes.
Once you reach those kind of numbers, and it seems like they're putting in the work to make sure that they reach certain level of expectations with the next game. I'm not going to say it's going to launch without issues, because I'm just going based on history. Undead Labs, State of Decay 1, State of Decay 2, they launched with a lot of issues. Both games got better over time, especially State of Decay 2. By the time the Series X updates and everything came rolling around, that game was a different game, 100%, right? And it just continues to get better and better with more stuff and awesome things in that game. But I think that State of Decay 3 is going to take a leap. I think it's going to be a big leap for them, even if it's like as good as what State of Decay 2 is, but a whole new game.
Yeah.
Right now, in State of Decay 2's shape, that's a whole new experience, because people getting that at launch, that kind of experience, that kind of quality is something that's going to attract a lot of people, right? So I think if you can just exceed that somewhat, implement this Unreal Engine 5 stuff, and I'm guessing they used Unreal before with State of Decay, Unreal 4, I'm guessing, or whatever. So I'm not sure 100%. I don't know what engine they worked on. If somebody knows, let me know in the chat. But this seems like it's just that next step for them, man. And I'm excited for the studio, because that was one of those studios that Microsoft was real excited about. They just found them. They started working with them with the original State of Decay, and the State of Decay 2 came out, and it's just growing into something. And guess what? It's called organic growth. It's fostering this great relationship with the studio. And they acquired them, and now they got this big franchise on their hands. We're going to see State of Decay 3 potentially be a massive hit when it comes out. I think when State of Decay 3 comes out, you're going to see more trailers. If anything, trailers are as badass as that last one that we saw. It's going to start generating even more hype, and you're going to have this big thing, State of Decay 3, and it's going to be one of these big tentpole franchises like we have with some of these other studios. And I think they got something really awesome on their hands potentially there, dude.
New focus on quality. We know that
Yeah.
internally, again with Microsoft, they admitted, that they reviewed The Last of Us 2 and what made it so great, and that was that was kind of like they were taking a look at what was going on. And does that mean that sometimes we're going to see longer dev times now, especially with the no crunch zone and all that kind of stuff going on? Yeah, it does mean we're going to have to wait longer on some of this stuff than we used to. But like you said, Matt, if Undead Labs is going to take that next step, and it appears that that's what they exactly want to do, then that means you have to go the extra mile with it. And if that means bringing in Coalition to help you out, fantastic. That's what we always talked about, this huge umbrella that Xbox is creating, how that can work. And Booty actually addressed that. And he said, listen, I know everybody says, hey, you guys got all these great teams, you're going to share all this tech and blah, blah, blah. And he said, but it's not going to come down to like all of our studios using one or two engines with, cool names attached to them. He actually said something like that.
Yeah.
He said it is, but what it is that the talent from each of those studios can help out the other studios in certain situations and share certain resources when they are using, similar or same engines and that kind of stuff. He said that absolutely is going to happen. That's what's happening in this case right here. Bro, can't wait, man. Undead Labs, out of the blue, coming out with State of Decay 3. Next time we see it, if it does show up and it's Unreal 5 current gen looking masterpiece that's pushing limits like we know Gears has done in the past, if it does come out that way, all of a sudden Undead Labs becomes a new studio that, it was just one of those studios. Hey, great, you guys had State of Decay. State of Decay 2 was whatever. It came out bad, but now, you fixed it up and people are playing. But Undead Labs isn't talked about. Now all of a sudden they're going to be talked about. And maybe that's what's going to happen with all these studios going forward. In Exile, Compulsion, all these kind of forgotten studios that nobody talks about all the time. All of a sudden they become AAA studios. That's what we saw happen over at Sony. They took all these studios, grew them. They all got better at their craft. They all became masters at their craft. And all of a sudden, everybody started talking about them. We saw it exactly with Insomniac, of course, that Sony paid a pittance for Insomniac at the end of the day. And all of a sudden, now they're a household name. When's if 3 years from now, Undead Labs is a household name, right? Just because of State of Decay 3 and the style it comes out in. I can't wait. I cannot wait for it whatsoever to see what they got going on now. So shout out to Gerald Mack showing up. Salute to you, brother. Great to have you in here as well. Listen, Mav, last thing I want to end on, and we'll get everybody out of here because it's been 3 hours now. I wanted to get your impressions, because we really didn't talk about it too much, of God of War. Game Informer came out with kind of a preview expose. They got some in-game footage, some actual in-game footage with a lot of information on it. Expanded weapon system, expanded combat system. The Y button now has extra attacks. Or there's triangle Y button. Here I go. Has extra attacks. Triangle button has extra attacks to it. Brother, what'd you think of what you saw out of God of War?
Looks cool, man.
Yeah.
I personally like it. I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a smash hit. And I had like little to no excitement over it just because I never could get into the first game. So unfortunately, I mean, that's where I'm at. However,
no, I got you.
It's like, it's more of what we've seen from the original God of War. It's just expanded. And I think it looks better. And it's going to be like, for people that thought that was like a masterpiece, you're going to be extremely happy with this game. Right.
Yeah.
I will pick it up, probably not at day one, because I never finished the original one. I'm going to try again. I got like maybe like 6 or 7 hours through the last time I played, and I still didn't want to go back to it because I just wasn't into it. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's like made masterfully. It just wasn't grabbing me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So therefore I have no excitement over it. However, like, I can't deny the quality is there. There's a story there that a lot of people love that looks like it's really well made as well. And quality is on point with that game. I think people are going to have a special game on their hands for the people that are into it, for sure, which is a lot of people. I'm the outlier here, right?
Right.
So I'm the weirdo that doesn't get into that game for some reason, right? But however, it's going to be a smash hit. And I think that I think we're gonna see some more of it in September probably as well if they have Sony has another show. So I'm looking forward to whatever it brings, and maybe this one will be the one that gets me into it. Right?
Yeah.
I'll wait for it to go on sale for like $20 off, pick it up for like $50 or whatever. You know, if I can get like a $15 off or whatever, I'll probably dive in at that point. I'm just not gonna pay 70 for something I'm not crazy excited about. You know.
Yep.
And then we'll give it a go and see how it is. What about you,
absolutely.
Pong?
I think it looks gorgeous. I think it looks phenomenal. I really think that, again, all the DLC talk, the slander that was out there, again, yes, we all know it. Facts. It started out as DLC, but I think that's all going to be thrown to the wayside. What they've done here is expanded upon what made God of War great. They've taken, again, I love when teams do this. They don't try to reinvent stuff per se, but they add to what already was great. And already the combat, just from what I saw, already looks closer to the original God of Wars in some instances, as far as fast paced and all that kind of stuff goes. And to me, that's what gets me excited, because God of War, I started playing it. It was a great game. Didn't grab me. I like the original God of Wars. I like Jaffe God of Wars. That's just me. Again, I understand the change. They did an awesome job with it. All the props deserved, all the awards and all the flowers deserved. But I think that they're taking an even further step up, even without Barlog heading it up. I think this new team is just, again, building on what they already did amazing on. And I think that this experience for all the God of War fans out there is probably going to blow some people's minds away.
Yeah.
I think the story, again, I read the spoilers, the stories out there, grain of salt if you go read them. Never know if it's real or not, but it was really in depth. And if that story fleshes out the way that they kind of have it set up, look, man, the story itself sounds epic. So if they pull all that off together, from what I saw, the gameplay from Game Informer, what I read short bits of it, it really does sound like this is the next big game. This is going to be a big holiday game for Sony.
Yeah, it's the biggest game launching this holiday.
Yeah. In a season that Sony normally doesn't care about, but now all of a sudden they care about. Well, you couldn't do much better than bringing out a new God of War, let me tell you. So it's going to be big. It's going to be everywhere. Everybody's going to be talking about it that has a PlayStation for sure. It's going to be that. It's a moment. They're going to see some really nice.
I think Sony needs this game to be a big hit too, because they've had a kind of a long run of these big first party games that are good quality and decently popular games, but they haven't been having the same numbers they did last generation on those sales, right? So
could this be the first one that gets over 90 this time around, Mav? Because they've been stuck on this 88 forever. And according to some people in the Sony community, 88 is not a banger. So are they going to finally have a banger, man? What do you think?
Yes. Immortality is the only banger this generation, apparently.
Well, and Elden Ring.
And Elden Ring, yes. I'll say that it could. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of weird takes with journalists and gaming reviews, and you can't pinpoint how these reviews are going to go. I've seen the craziest articles with reviews from people with Last of Us remake, and just the wordage in those reviews.
This would be a 70, but it's Last of Us, so it's an automatic 100. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
It just brings nothing new gameplay wise or anything, but we're giving it 100 just because, hey, it's The Last of Us again, and this is the best way to play it. So I will keep saying this, like, you were making a remake, review it as a remake, not as the original game. Yeah. Because we already have a review of the original game and the story. And if it's the same original game and the story, you're just letting people know again, hey, this is a great game again. It's like, hey, let's just go back and review original Halo right now. Why not?
Right.
I bet you if we go back and look at Halo anniversary reviews, they were not as favorable for the remake on that, right? For the additions and everything.
People brought up Gears of War, the remake. It got lower scores.
Yeah.
So the remaster got lower scores. So again, that's like normal.
But it was Gears, but it was Halo.
Yeah.
Those are amazing stories, and that's the best way to play. So shouldn't it get automatic 100? Because that's what the originals got, like across the boards, right? Highest reviewed games of the generations for a lot of them, right? Like they should automatically get that because it's the best way to play that classic experience.
Professional journalists.
Right.
Professional.
Just weird,
yeah, those
man.
reviews were blowing my mind.
Just weird, dude. I'm just saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like there's
no. The Last of Us is a masterpiece to me too.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of my goats. It's
nothing against The Last of Us. Nope. I'm not against. I think the game to a lot of people is a masterpiece. It deserves all the praise and all that kind of stuff. Yep. It's just weird takes on the review, on the wordage in those reviews. It's like,
yes, yeah,
it was strange. It's almost like they were afraid to give their actual thoughts or something in some instances.
Yeah, kind of.
When you say, if we were judging this for the remake, it would be a 70, but it's
yes,
because it's a classic game. We're giving it I don't know. It's weird.
That was an interesting conversation this week too.
Yeah.
We won't dive into it, but it was interesting because then people were bringing up, well, you shouldn't review it based upon the price point, but if you're reviewing a game that's maybe made for the third time and your review is in part to tell people whether or not it's worth buying, then I don't know how the third time out you can't mention the price point.
Right.
Like that's why ACG's review for me was amazing, because again, he doesn't care. He doesn't
the scores are adding to the problem.
And he doesn't give a score.
Right.
He just gives you a buy, never buy, or wait for a sale. Right. That's how he does it. And he, for him, that system, he has to include the price point. And he said, look, if you've never played The Last of Us, or maybe you only played it once through, maybe I could say it's worth $70. But he's like, if you played the remaster, then no, wait for a sale. He goes, I can't tell you to buy it at $70. And he pointed out a lot of problems that the actual upgrades have done to the game, that some of the feeling is lost in some of the scenes because the character models are too realistic now. And he said that that's something that companies are going to have to think about going forward. And he also said that there's some new bugs, and some of the old bugs are still there. And there's some new bugs that he noticed as well. So he pointed out the fair, but again, just interesting conversations, because it is another one of those weird situations. The third time a game's come out in the span of 12 years, whatever it's been. How do you review that without including the $70 price point? Like, I don't know how you do that, because it is like, hey, somebody's making their buying decision based upon this. Like, I don't know. Interesting stuff.
All subjective, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's the easiest way to go, right? So all subjective. So, anyways, great show.
Oh, one more thing, real quick, Pong.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a quick note. Did you see what another booty nugget about In Exile? Did you hear him talk about In Exile?
I thought I did, but I didn't hear any nuggets. What did you hear? Maybe I missed something.
He was saying that it's just like that game is like the most excited thing that they have going right now.
I don't doubt it. Again, In Exile, again, another
that they can't wait to show. It has like
some of the best writers. So if they bring themselves up to that level, Mav, with graphics,
he said really interesting mechanics.
Okay. Oh, so we got another arcane on our hands in Exile. Okay. All right.
It's an interesting mechanics. Cool. Really interesting mechanics. So anyway, I just like, again, we've heard Phil say this before. We know In Exile is crazy excited about it, because they keep alluding to how excited they are on Twitter all the time about what they're working on, which I love their social media team. They're freaking awesome. But then also now Matt Booty again talking about In Exile. That leads me to possibly think that game could potentially be one of the next big games that gets announced.
Could be.
Because of how excited they are about that from multiple people. That and Compulsion's game. He didn't mention Compulsion's game there, but Phil's talked about that numerous times. I think those are a couple of the projects that could be there. And also, he did say that he's seen the early concept work of some of the stuff that Double Fine's working on. And he said games.
Yeah, multiple games. Yeah, I did hear that too. Yep,
which fits in with Double Fine's mold, right?
Yep.
So it seems like things are going great with their, it was going to be a while before we see a lot of these games, but and probably another one that we got information on was that Project Dragon, rumored to be 2025 according to their financials, I guess.
Both 007 and Project Dragon are expected to release after March of 2025.
Yeah. And that their financials are like, they're basically going to be not making a lot of money the next couple of years, just relying on Hitman 3 until those
Don't
games
matter.
come out.
When you're underneath Xbox, it don't matter.
But they did say Hitman and Game Pass was a huge success for them financially, and it's helping a lot, right? So that's good news for that project, and I'm curious when that's going to get announced. Also, with it being 2025, we may not see that announcement until 2024.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So.
Yep. If they're on this new 12-month kick, but again, that's fine by me. Again,
Yeah.
if we're talking about all these studios, all of them, from third party to first party, taking a new look at nothing but quality and making sure they're coming out polished under a no crunch rule. Listen, if it takes longer, it takes longer. I got plenty to play. Is it tough to wait on the first party stuff? Of course it is. I want to see what Xbox has got going on. But again, as I just mentioned, as Mav was talking about with Undead Labs, if all of a sudden all these forgotten kind of smaller studios that were kind of like extra pickups that everybody was like, oh, that's cool. They got an Exile. Oh, they got Undead Labs. Oh, okay. All of a sudden now those all become major players in this gen because they all step up their game, because underneath Xbox, they were allowed to grow. They were allowed to expand. They were allowed to invest in technology. And all of a sudden now you've got 3 AAA studios out of some of these smaller teams that you really didn't think much of, other than, hey, they might be kind of making something cool. Bro, you're talking about domination by Xbox. If this is the new way forward, then it's all going to make sense why we haven't seen a whole lot out of them yet, and why it's taken a little bit longer on top of the pandy, on top of all the stuff we know about. But if at the end of the day, gamers have the shortest memories in history, if at the end of the day these games come out and they become the next big things, and all of these studios, not everyone's going to hit, but most of the studios are hitting, we're in for a hell of a ride in the next 4 to 5 years. A hell of a ride starting next year.
Yep.
So
absolutely
good stuff, Mav. We are one hell of a show, man. We got through a lot today as well. Had a lot of good conversations. Chat, appreciate all of you. Thank you all for sticking around. I know some of you are asking for a 5-hour show. Look, you can get 4 hours on Saturdays in Living Split Screen, but Mav and I have been actually going longer recently. So we had a 4-hour show last week, over 3-hour show this week as well. We appreciate all of you for sticking around. And if you're listening to us in the future, again, we love you. Thank you so much for checking us out. We hope you all enjoyed the show. Mav and I love Thursday nights. We love getting together and just talking like this, man. It's fun. It's fun as hell.
We do have a super chat to get to before we get out of here as well. Victor Alstein, thank you so much for $5 super chat. Says, I think the Ascent dev would be a good pickup. They could have just made a few changes in the Ascent and made it a Halo twin stick shooter. Yep. Could have, yeah.
I love the Ascent. Love that studio. The details in that game are incredible.
Small team too, so
small team as well. All right, let's get him out of here, Mav. What do you got going on? Xbox Ultimate tomorrow night. What else? What's happening? What you streaming?
Oh man, gonna be playing. I don't know what I'm gonna be playing, man. I'm just gonna pick a game and play it. There's so much stuff to play, dude, and like it depends on whatever mood I'm in. It's either Battlefield or Soul Hackers or Madden or I want to get back into Aliens Fireteam Elite and give that a go. I don't know what I'm going to play this weekend, but you can bet that I will be live playing games this weekend as well, guys, because I usually am. Besides that, tomorrow night we got Xbox Ultimate Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern, where you're going to get to hear lots of great thoughts and a lot of interesting conversations from an amazing panel that we have here of awesome people, the fam here. And that's, again, like at 9 p.m. Eastern here on this channel. Then Mondays is a Fun Speculation Podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern. Again, with an awesome group of guys, and we have a blast talking about all the different consoles, and we take a look at the games coming for the week ahead as well, and lots of awesome stuff now starting to drop, guys. We have this summer lull is coming to an end, and September and October are going to be better, so that's going to be absolutely awesome. And other than that, dropping videos, trying to get at least one a week out there right now, mixed with co-streams as well, covering some of these events we have coming up. So just always stay tuned. If you hit the notification bell and follow on Twitter, you can usually find out when going live. Appreciate every single person out there who ever takes a second to even just come in and say hello or check out one of our videos. You all freaking rock. Vic the Click, ep member for 4 months, said, amazing episode, guys. I appreciate you, Vic, as always, dude. I hope you're doing some shots of tequila right now, getting ready for bed. Oh, no. $5 super chat from Vic the Click. Appreciate you again. He says beer time. No tequila tonight. It's beer time. Right on, dude. I appreciate you, man. What about you, Pong? What do you got going on? Are you going to be playing games this weekend? You going to be hanging out? You got a lot of stuff going on. I know you got something on Saturday morning, as always.
As always, and I will see you guys tomorrow night as well, of course, at some point. Listen, great show. Appreciate you all. Thank you for being here. You know the drill. Pongsol on Xbox, Pongsol on Twitter. That's where you can find me at. Otherwise, obviously, tomorrow night I will be on the Xbox Ultimate Podcast, like Mav said. So be there or be square. And then Saturday mornings, buckle up. Living split screen, as always. My brother from another Steel, Rain, and I back again for the holiday weekend for at least us in the U.S. I don't know where else everybody else is at, but we get an extra long weekend this weekend as well, which is nice. So listen, we're going to be live, raw, and uncut, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Set those alarms now. So when I remind you, you can say, you know what, Pong, I already set my alarms. So just do it now so you don't forget. And we're going to have 3+ hours, probably go 4 again, unless Steele's got something going on or unless I do. But we are going to talk all the talk that has happened this week. We will have a great show for you Saturday morning, 3 p.m. BST time, UK time, whatever you want to call it. And then Saturday night, the Shop Podcast, PTK Blam's channel with the brothers PTK and, of course, Fuzzy Belvedere, part of the Fun Speculation family as well, and myself. I don't know who the guest is for sure this week yet, but we have the show for you on your Saturday evening. Just tune us in while you're playing games and just, hey, bring your questions. You can type in the chat real quick at the end of the show, second half of the show. PTK lets you guys call it. So just be there, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Always the best way to end your Saturday night. And then, of course, next week, actually, I will be on the Xbox Factor podcast. But you know you check it out anyways because it's Mr. Boomstick. It's the man. It's Double Barrel Gaming as the channel. And it's all good things green every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. I will be there this week. And I think, Mav, you've committed to being there this week as well. So
yeah, I'll be there tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Oh, you're going to be there tomorrow morning
yes.
too? Well, look at you.
Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow morning and I'll be there on Tuesday.
Breakfast.
Breakfast with Boom. I forgot to mention that.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. So yeah, check us out next Tuesday. Mav and I will be there for sure. I'm sure Boxenberger will make it if he can as well. But he's got such a great panel. So many dudes over there right now. Listen, just drop on in and then back here next Thursday if God is willing and life is willing for PM. And the PM episode next 41 next week. Mm-hmm. And you know what that means. It's going to be a great time here.
It means we're over the hill.
That means we're over the hill. It's true. We are over the hill, but still haven't caught up to me yet. So haven't caught up to me yet. Otherwise, it is the golden age of gaming, people. Enjoy it. If you have extra day off this weekend, hey, I do too. Actually, I got 2 extra days off. I'm taking Tuesday off as well. I'm going to take a 4-day weekend. So it is going to be fun. Get out there, play what you love what you play, enjoy it, have a great time. Mav, get us out of here, brother.
Have a fantastic night, everybody. And 343, get your shit together. Bye.
Wow.